But it does have Meryl Streep and Glenn Close in the same movie, which I don't know if they've ever been in a movie together.
Which is of Eastwick.
Welcome to SinCast, presented by CinemaSins.
All right, everybody, welcome to the SinCast. This is Chris Atkinson from CinemaSins, joined as always by the voice of CinemaSins, Jeremy Scott.
Hello.
And from Music Video Sins, Barrett Scher.
Happy New Year, everyone!
And from Everything, Jonathan Watkins.
Yeah.
What's up? Hey.
He's one of the guys that writes for everything.
He is.
He writes for TV, he writes for MVS, he writes for CinemaSins.
That's right.
And also, he and I are starting another podcast.
We are.
Tell everybody about this other podcast.
Okay, so this other podcast, this will be, I guess, the second CinemaSins Presents podcast. It's going to be called Movies Going on 30. And so if you think
all about Jennifer
that,
Garner.
Yeah, all about Jennifer Garner.
It's all about Jennifer Garner. And whatever she's up to. You know, like we dissect every one of those Capital One commercials.
We do.
Yeah.
And just because we're weird, we're going to actually start with Alias Season 4.
Right,
we're not even starting
Yeah. You don't
Episode 5.
Really, the first 3 are worthless.
Oh,
Once
they
it gets
are.
to 4, that's where it really starts.
I need to know what Rimbaldi. Is it Rimbaldi?
Yeah,
Is that right?
Rimbaldi.
Yeah, it's Rimbaldi.
Rambaldi mentioned in the podcast.
Which was that was a reference to some like horror producer or something like that from the 70s.
Man, I don't remember now.
I think that's what it was.
I think you're right.
Yeah.
So anyway, Movies Going on 30 is not about Jennifer Garner. She was a babe in the woods this year, but we're going to be talking about, if you think about it, it's 2019. So if you go back 30 years, it's going to be 1989. So we are going to be.
Yeah, math checks out.
Yep.
So we are going to be deep diving into the movies of 1989, and what we decided to do was we're literally going to go week to week, and we'll be covering the movies that came out in the corresponding week to 2019, if that makes sense.
Right. So there's in January of 1989, there were only 2 weeks.
Yes.
Where movies were released. So we will release our first episode the second week of January.
Yeah, it should be somewhere around the 15th.
Yeah, and then the second episode will come 2 weeks later, but it's not a every 2 weeks thing. It's just the way the release schedule went.
Pretty much after that, it should be weekly. And most weeks we'll be covering anywhere from 3 to 4 or 5 movies. When we get to the summer and stuff, some of those, there's only a couple.
Yep.
Those might be weeks we can actually get some guests on or something to, and throw some stuff into the mix.
As we've discussed before, January in 1989, as much as it ever was or has been, was the garbage dumpiest month there was. And that's the reason why there were a few releases. And that's why there are so many movies you've never heard of that came out back then. There are a couple that you've heard.
There are. And we have found how weirdly they correspond to movies that are coming out in 2019. Yeah, I mean,
that'll be interesting, because you might actually end up spotting patterns that you would not ever have seen, or parallels maybe.
I will go ahead and sneak preview one of those patterns. And it's only because I saw Scrooged, and we talked about this in the second episode. But in Scrooged, there's the Alfre Woodard's son doesn't talk because his dad died, and he hasn't talked ever since. Now, that movie was directed by Richard Donner. And the movie Three Fugitives, Martin Short's daughter, doesn't speak because her mom died a couple of years prior. The producer of Three Fugitives was Lauren Shuler Donner, his wife.
Wow.
So there's something weird going on there that I
wonder if they in real life knew a mute kid whose parent had died.
Yeah.
And they both just adapted it separately.
Yeah.
And the other weird thing, that was a remake of a French comedy.
Right.
Which this year, we're getting a remake of The Untouchables, which was a French comedy.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, if you remember back to a long time ago when we did the best of the years that we were alive, 1989 was one of the banner years. In fact, so much so that we had to go like 3 or 4 levels down to find our eventual favorite, which was hilariously When Harry Met Sally.
Yes.
But that's how deep this year is. So this is perfect material to be mined. I'm looking forward to this podcast.
Yeah,
I think
this
it's gonna
sounds
be
awesome.
Yeah.
And this is just, I mean, don't think we're going to stop at 2. We got ideas. We got a whole podcast kingdom we're going to build.
That's right.
And we'll be great kings. And we'll release the grain stores to the masses.
Yes.
I don't know. I've been watching a lot of Game of Thrones lately.
Yes, release those grain stores.
But I don't think even in that show once do they release the grain stores.
HBO really knows how to hit you, don't they?
God, man, I lose productivity every time they do this.
I can't remember the first day that they ran that marathon of season 1. I was like, I've seen season 1. I've seen it all the way through twice.
Yeah.
And I've seen certain episodes, like the first one, maybe 4 or 5 times. And I'm still sitting there watching that first fucking episode. Like I've never seen it before. Yeah. Like, I wonder what happens.
Like my wife came in to ask me a question during part of the Red Wedding, and I was like, shh. And I'm thinking to myself, I've seen this 5 times. Like, I know exactly what's going to happen, but I still want to watch it. Just give me a second.
I'm going to have to dive into that soon because I'm the only person, I think, out of all of us, including Dicer, that hasn't watched like the entire series.
Hold on. Turn off the podcast. We're going to have to kill him.
Let's do it right now.
We'll be back in.
But I know with CinemaSins, eventually we're going to cover later, bigger episodes. So I'm going to have to watch the stuff before that to be able to write the script. So I'm looking forward to it. It's just I haven't had HBO like consistently over the last 6 or 7 years, so it's been kind of hard to keep up with it.
I know that we're like completely derailed at this point, but one thing that's funny about that first season, there's the part where it's Rob and it's Lady Stark. What's her name? Catelyn. They're trying to negotiate with Walter Frey about the getting across. And she comes back and says, "You're going to have to marry one of his daughters." And he goes, "Was any of them attractive?" And he's like, "There was one." Or whatever. And you're like, oh, okay, whatever. Now he ends up with an absolutely stunning woman. But it's funny later on, like 3rd season or whatever, you find out that the one that she was talking about is fucking gorgeous.
Yeah, because Lord Edmure's in there getting ready to get married, and he's all dreading it. Like, and then she comes in, and the veil comes off, and his face is so fucking perfect because he's just kind of like.
Yeah, we could have
jackpot.
Yeah, we could have avoided so many things.
Anyway, though, the podcast sounds awesome, and I guess by the time this episode we're recording today comes out, it'll only be just like over a week away, right?
Yeah, that's about a week away.
That's right.
Very cool.
So yeah, we're looking forward to it. I think it's cool. Even though the last time I watched every movie in a year, it was 2005, and that turned out to be a sucky year. There is something about it. There's a climb a mountain type thing about watching every movie that came out in one year. And we'll miss a few, but there'll be those really obscure ones.
Yeah, I mean, we're getting all of the major releases, and we're getting a lot of minor releases.
Yeah, a lot of minor ones that you can find anyway.
And even I mean, and there are some really great movies in '89, but one thing I found going through it, I was really glad we picked it, was because there's so much that happens that, like, there's so many interesting transitions with films. Like, the summer movie season kind of changes a little bit. Disney gets back on track. I think it's going to be really interesting when we talk about Little Mermaid, because I don't think a lot of younger people realize how dead in the water Disney kind of was.
Oh, yeah.
At this time. James Bond. That's really interesting. I mean, there's just a lot of the start of the 90s indie scene kind of makes its footprints in 1989 with Gus Van Sant and people like that, and Steven Soderbergh.
Yeah.
So, it's
interesting
going to be fascinating. Yeah.
All right. So today we're going to go back on our road trip.
On the road again. The most time-honored tradition of all, the road trip. Oh, the places you'll go.
Are we there yet?
No.
Are we there yet?
No.
Are we there yet?
No.
To the tiny Rhode Island.
Yes, it's not actually an island.
Yeah, it's not.
Pretentious
nor is it a road.
But it is New England.
It is.
Yes,
most
it is.
definitely. Despite some of the other states we've applied that label to.
You know what? Rhode Island, for me, I've driven through Rhode Island. I've never stayed there or anything. Or have I?
Yeah, you did.
I did stay. It was Providence.
Yeah.
So we did stay there that one time. But Rhode Island also, the first time I ever drove through it, was the day that John McCain announced Sarah Palin as his running mate.
Wow.
So I was listening to the radio of her introduction to the masses driving through Rhode Island, and my horn was stuck on honking.
Under protest?
That is the worst, by the way. I've had that happen before.
It was like it would honk, and I would sit there and like hit it, and it'd finally just stop, and I'd look around,
Everybody's looking,
and then it would just honk out of nowhere again.
It's like in Little Miss Sunshine, the horn gets stuck on, and the cop pulls him over.
I eventually had to pull some wires out of it. And everything.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Did you clip the red wire or the green wire?
Oh my God, I can't remember.
But then you were hornless the rest of the time.
I was hornless, and I was like, I don't use the horn that much, and then there was like 3 times that I had to
just
use
roll
it.
down
And
the
you
window.
hear,
Hey!
like that. Like, and there was one time I had to use my horn, and this guy wasn't going at a light, and I hit this. This is a comedy of errors. Okay, I was like, damn it, and I hit my windshield, and it cracked. This was my old Sentra. I was like, damn, I didn't know you could do that shit.
My last car.
Your car's fucking like falling apart.
I know.
By the time you get-
Have you guys seen Safe Men?
Yeah.
I know
this
we've
is
talked
coming
about
up.
it briefly. Is that Rhode Island?
Yes.
Is it really?
That's really
Yes, you
funny. You
keep
keep bringing up stuff. You're like loving other drugs.
That's fucking crazy.
Well, let's go ahead and talk about Safe Men.
Well,
then.
okay, because in there they do this thing where they trade high fives, like 2 sets of 2 guys, and they all hit, and then the ceiling's so low they smack their hands on the ceiling. And I was recreating that in my car. I'd only owned this car for 2 weeks, and I was recreating that and hit the dome light and short circuited something. That dome light never worked for 10 more years, because I was recreating a high five comedy of errors from Safe Men.
So is this Steve Zahn?
Yes.
Okay.
And
Mark Ruffalo
and Sam Rockwell.
Okay, I saw this in the theater, and
Wow.
I haven't seen it since, though, so I can't really talk about it. I remember it being funny.
Oh, yeah, it's
I remember
really
it being
funny.
really, really entertaining.
It's pretty charming.
Is it a heist comedy,
Yeah,
kind of?
they get mistaken for safecrackers.
Okay, it's
by a
coming back.
mobster, and then they can't quite. They want to be singers, so it's a little. It's like Ishtar meets
Wow, yeah, that is
Happy
Ishtar.
Texas.
Yeah, and
basically.
it sounds a little bit like Some Like It Hotter a little bit in there too. Or
Yeah,
like,
and then Ruffalo and his partner are the real safecrackers, and they end up basically competing, but then they realize they like each other, and they end up. There's even a moment where one of them's like, "Sweet stash, bro," and the other guy's like, "Thanks, man. I've been growing this mustache." It's really funny. It's not gonna win any awards, but I really, really liked it. I did not know it was Rhode Island. I was bringing it up because Chris breaking his windshield reminded me of breaking my dome light, which I was only doing because of Safe Men. What a weird thing.
I haven't seen this in forever, but I do seem to remember a scene where Ruffalo wants to buy something at a store, and it's like a little plush toy or something. Do you remember this?
Sounds vaguely familiar.
And he wants it, but I think his partner's like, no, you can't have that or whatever. And he has this look on his face, like, oh, like I can't have the plush toy.
I think we also find out Ruffalo was in on it the whole time and was a good magician.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
there you
happened
go.
in this?
Yeah,
He's not a
exactly.
cop after all.
Yeah.
He's the puppet master.
Yeah, he's gonna go all out to try to stop these guys, but then be on their side the whole time.
That would be awesome if that was like just a trending Mark Ruffalo thing. Like every movie that happened at the end, no matter what the movie was, like it was like the Hulk or whatever.
Yeah.
By the way, they end up stealing the Stanley Cup. That's what they're going after at the
Are you
end.
serious?
Yes, because the mobster's son's bar mitzvah is happening, and he loves hockey.
Ah.
So they call a kid Little Big Fat because the mob boss is Big Fat.
Is that,
So did the
Paul Giamatti
Bruins
is in
win
this?
the Stanley
No,
Cup?
Paul Giamatti is Big Fat's right-hand man. He's like the put-upon assistant.
God, Giamatti was in this too.
Yes,
Man,
the
I
guy
gotta
that's
rewatch
Big
this.
Fat is the fake Roger Ebert mayor from Godzilla.
Oh, no shit.
Oh, that's Michael Lerner.
Yeah.
He is Big Fat Tony, and then his son
that's
is Little
funny.
Big Fat.
Fat Tony.
And they're trying to steal the Stanley Cup in time for the bar mitzvah. I would highly recommend it. Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't put it ahead of like Schindler's List.
No.
It
The-
does
the-
alphanumerically, though.
Well,
It does come
it was
before.
funny. They were competing for the belt there.
The only time you'll hear Safe Men and Schindler's List.
Yes.
Safe, it was at 98.
Mhm.
Is that
Yeah,
right?
I think that's right. To start our alphanumeric list, and we'll skip over Safe Men when we get to it,
Excellent.
is The Conjuring.
Yeah.
Yes,
sir.
Hey.
I like this movie.
I do too.
Yeah.
I didn't like the sequel at all.
Yeah, I'm the same.
And I'm not a big fan of... now, I've heard one of the Annabelle movies is supposed to be good. You might know.
The second one, when I saw it in the theater, I thought it was good. When we did the Sins video for it, I liked it a lot less.
Yeah.
The whole
I
universe
should've just
of The
watched it
Conjuring,
once.
I'm not sure about. Because
Yeah.
we've got those
Well-
movies, Annabelle, and now The Nun
Yeah.
is all part of that universe, right?
There's
Yeah.
a third Annabelle movie coming out this year.
Yikes.
Yeah, there's they're right now I mean, and you know, it happens with the comic book movies too. They're shoehorning too much crap in
Mhm.
to try to get this universe going and everything. It's in Annabelle Creation where we've already been introduced to the Nun in Conjuring 2.
Correct, yeah.
We've already been introduced. We already know that's a thing coming or whatever. But then they shoehorn it into Annabelle Creation into a picture that they look at.
There's something at the end, too, like the credits.
Yeah.
There's a stinger.
Yeah, and I heard the Nun wasn't very good.
It was not.
Yeah,
But the first Conjuring I liked a lot.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah, it was very good. James Wan, who is, like we said before, I think James Wan is a great director, and Aquaman is actually a pretty decent movie.
Oh,
Did you see?
excellent.
Oh,
good
yeah,
to
that's
know.
right. Yeah.
I don't know how much when you get a director like Wan in on a movie like Aquaman, how much he's really contributing to it, but because I think those things do kind of get.
It's probably more of like trying not to fuck it up as much as Snyder and Whedon
And
did. on the
I will
last
say,
two, right?
he did did he do the 7th Fast and Furious movie? I don't fucking I know. But he did the one where they're on the mountain. And there's like that great,
Yeah, he did
I'm not
Fury-
saying it's
he
a
did-
great movie, but there's that great car chase scene on the mountain.
Yeah. After they parachuted. And
Yeah, I
everything.
think he does really well with action.
It's,
so.
Weren't the Ninja Turtles in that scene?
Yeah, they were.
They turned into Transformers too.
They
It was
were
crazy.
Oh my god, that's so crazy. But no, yeah, I mean he's done other. I mean, you know, he's done other stuff. I know you don't like Insidious too much, but I liked Insidious.
I
a
did
lot.
too.
And he did Insidious 2 and he did Furious 7, so he does have some that are just like. But I don't even know really a lot of times is that if those were really his fault or maybe they are. I don't know.
Well, The Conjuring is dialed back, and it's more about the Patrick Wilson and is it Vera Farmiga
Yes.
characters that are based on the real life Warrens. I think.
Yes.
And that's more interesting. That's why I think when you dilute it down to the Annabelles and the nuns and the other characters coming in here, yeah, I mean it's teased through all the artifacts that they have, but I think having those two characters as like the central focus is where it was successful, at least in the first one. That's
I
why
agree.
I liked it.
And the Annabelle stuff in The Conjuring is way creepier than both of the movies. And if you were going to do an Annabelle movie, I would have almost rather just seen why the Warrens ended up with her. You know, I would have make that a Conjuring movie where they go after Annabelle or whatever. But no, I like that movie. It's got some really good. It's not like I don't know. I don't get scared anymore, but it's definitely like the hand clapping scene is a classic. Although they did kind of ruin that in the trailer. If you haven't seen this movie for some reason, do not watch the trailer first. But yeah, no, I really enjoyed it. It was a really fun time. It's not a movie I've gone back to that much, but
Yeah.
I had a really good time with it.
Yeah. It's also, I mean, James Wan does make movies that are just like beautiful to look at, and The
Yeah.
Conjuring's another one of those that's got, you know, it's beautiful to look at, and it sort of goes against it's got to be grainy, it's got to be grungy, it's got to be dirty.
Yeah.
But
Like Saw.
Yeah.
I'm surprised
exactly.
you like this. Is it?
I think it's the
not really-
power of Ron Livingston. I'm not even joking, but also I feel like this movie is trying to creep me out more than scare me.
Yeah.
And I gravitate more to that kind of horror than I do the scary kind.
Mm-hmm.
And it's got a great cast, and it's got a budget. And like I know that's what you're saying. It's kind of more of a, even though it is a bigger budget, I still feel like it fits more in that 70s vein where we had like The Exorcist and Rosemary's Baby, and well, that was 68, but The Omen. You had like these big studios making these big horror productions. That's what this felt more like than say. I don't know. I'm trying to think of another example right now, but that felt more in that vein. So I think that's why it works. And the cast is great. Even the kids are really good.
Yeah.
You've got what is her name? She's in Wish Upon too. I think her last name's King.
Oh, it's Joey King.
Joey King. She's great, you know, and she's just one of the children, you know. And there's I don't know, just the cast is great. Lily Taylor's really good.
Yeah.
Joey King shaved her head
Did she?
for a role. But the only reason I know this is because there was a story a few months ago on one of those celebrity blogs, TMZ or some such, that she had overheard somebody saying something about her. Like somebody on an airplane asked to transfer seats because they didn't want to catch her cancer or something. And she was all like
Holy
offended.
Shit.
And she was like, people are judging me just because I shaved my head.
Oh.
I remember thinking, wow, whoever thinks you can catch cancer sure is a big moron.
Yeah.
Also, if she randomly listens to this, I'm sure she's going to appreciate I said the girl from Wish Upon.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
As opposed to the girl from the kissing booth.
Yes.
She might prefer that.
She's in that Netflix movie, The Kissing.
Oh, I've never
Booth.
seen that.
No, me neither. I read headlines.
That was a prequel to Bandersnatch.
Yeah, it was.
No, it's actually it's supposed to be one of their most watched original films.
Really?
Yeah, it came out last year. It's
Yeah,
like this horrible teeny bopper high school movie that all the Taylor Swift fans liked, I guess. So, I don't know.
We move on to a movie I definitely haven't seen, The Curse of Chucky.
I have seen that.
I've seen this.
No shit.
Okay, so Bride, Seed, and Curse kind of all get mixed up for me.
Yeah, so this was so Don Mancini. The one thing interesting about the Child's Play films, up until this current remake that's coming out this summer, where they completely kicked him out of the whole project. Don Mancini has been the creator behind this from the get-go, which is kind of interesting because you typically don't get the same person sticking with these films for the whole. He hadn't directed them all or anything, but he's always been there. He wrote them and so on and so forth. So I think after Seed of Chucky, which is one of the worst movies I've ever seen, was a bomb and didn't do well. He was able to bring this franchise back. This was a direct to DVD movie, and a lot of horror movie fans really dig this movie. I've seen it once.
It's more slashery than it is campy.
Yeah, and it's kind of like it's like a haunted house kind of situation. I mean, it's not a ghost movie, but they're in a big house and it's dark and it's raining outside. I mean, it's kind of got that gothic feel to it.
Yeah. It's voodoo-y and all that stuff.
It's got kind of an interesting twist at the end because the whole movie, like, he looks like he did originally, whereas, if in the later sequels, he's all cut up and burnt and there's all kinds of stuff. And then there's a twist with that. You kind of find out at the end, like, where it actually takes place in the universe. I mean, it's, I don't.
No, it sucks.
It's
it
not
sucks.
good. It's not
bad.
good. But it does have its fans.
It sucks.
I always wonder.
I still think the original is good. I actually just recently watched that.
Oh, yeah?
And I still think there's a lot that works in that movie. And I think I like that it's played straight.
You think the first one's played straight?
Yeah.
More so than I think actually the first probably 2 or 3 are. I mean, they're definitely supposed to be like straight up horror films. I mean, they're not supposed to be comedies. They're not supposed to be like what Bride of Chucky was doing or what Seed of Chucky was doing. They're not paying homage to anything. I mean, it's just a straight up slasher film in the 80s.
Just happens to be a little puppet.
Yeah.
Maybe it's because I came late to the party and I never saw any Child's Play movies until Bride of Chucky came out.
Yeah.
But when I went back to watch Child's Play and we did the Sins video for it, it felt like it was straight. It was straighter, but it still felt kind of ridiculous to me.
And I'm not. Yeah, it definitely has its moments, and especially when you find. Well, the one thing about the original I remember, and I'm sorry we're getting sidetracked with that because I know that's not a Rhode Island movie. But one thing about the original, I find it odd that they tried to make it a mystery at first because everything with the advertising was that it's a killer doll. So they try to make it seem like maybe Andy the kid is the killer. So once it gets to where it's Chucky, because the first couple of kills are like from a point of view, it's like an old school slasher POV perspective. Once you find out it's Chucky, it kind of gets rolling. And there are some scenes in there where it's a little silly because it's puppet work.
The car scene.
Yeah. And there's like this, but there is that one scene where he I don't know if you remember this, but he goes to like the witch doctor or whatever. I guess the guy that taught him how to do voodoo.
Yeah.
I always find that scene very creepy. And I find him somewhat scary in that moment, as scary as a doll can be. And I think that movie does a good job of making you understand why he would be able to effectively dispatch of some of these people.
My favorite Chucky movie is Ready Player One.
Yes,
that's true.
That might be the best use of Chucky.
Jesus.
They use him as a weapon.
Everything's in that.
I tweeted this. That's been on HBO for a few weeks now, and I tried to watch it the first night it came on, and I got about 20 minutes in and said, it's just there's no way I'm going to like this. This was just not made for me.
Yeah,
I don't know if I'm too old.
I watch the whole thing. See if you like it the whole way. You're not gonna like it. Never
The
mind.
first 20 minutes, and
I
I was not connected
think
to any of that shit.
I think you would actually enjoy reading the book.
See, now that's
Yeah,
something I
yeah,
should
yeah.
do for sure.
Yeah,
The book's
'cause
better.
The book is better, and not just because it's that I don't know, that seems elitist a lot of times just to say the book's better. or whatever.
No. In this case,
It's just that it's
qualitatively is.
clearly better.
Yeah.
Because of how he solves the puzzles, and there's a more focus on solving the puzzles rather than, oh, this has already been solved. We just got to figure out what we got to do next. And then, like, we could go on and on about Ready Player One, but I'd say read the book.
Okay.
But Curse of Chucky, not good.
Yeah.
Better than you would think, but not good.
Dan in Real Life, I've never seen this.
I haven't
is
either.
the Steve Carell resting his head on pancakes.
And Dane Cook, I think, is in this, right?
Is he? I don't
Dane
know.
Cook is playing his brother. This is a good movie.
Julia Binoche is in this.
Yes.
I've seen this.
Yeah, so
You
is
liked it?
Emily Blunt. I really like this movie.
I have forgotten most of it. I just remember he falls in love with his brother's girlfriend.
Yes, unbeknownst that he doesn't nounce that she is his.
But even after he finds out,
he's
he's
still in
still
love
trying
with
to
her.
make
Yeah,
it
So
happen.
he falls in love with Dane Cook's girlfriend?
Indeed.
Yes.
And who is she?
His
That's
brother.
Julia Binoche.
That's
Julia
Julia
Binoche and Dane Cook? Yes.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
a
yeah.
couple.
Oh, my God.
They-
I bet
they
they
don't
had.
last
I
long.
bet
They're the
that,
original odd couple.
I bet that chemistry alone makes that movie worth it.
No, it's good. Okay, so this was, what year was this? 2007. So this was still Steve Carell being known primarily as a comedian through 40-Year-Old Virgin and through
And The
through
Office.
The Office and stuff like that. So this, I think, was the first time that I really showed, besides maybe Little Miss Sunshine.
I was going to say, this was around that time, right?
Right around there
Yeah,
where
I think
he's,
Little Miss Sunshine came out just before this.
he
but-
is normal and dialed back and on the verge of being depressed. He doesn't like where he's at in life. It's hard for him to meet women, so that's why he falls directly in love with who wouldn't fall in love with Juliette Binoche. But yeah, it's a weird kind of family dynamic and everything. It has a nice happy ending, but like his performance, I thought was unlike anything I had seen before besides Little Miss Sunshine. I like it a lot.
I just don't remember it very well to remember.
It's
if I
a
liked
very
it.
Saturday
I'll
afternoon
have to
movie.
check it out. It always looked a little pretentious to me. I think that there was something about it that was very off-putting to me.
Oh, no, I don't-
But if you're recommending it, I'll
It
check
was
it
the
out.
pancakes.
It was
Maybe,
the
yeah.
pancakes.
Could
I don't know.
be.
It was
Would
around
anyone
that
like some
time. It was
pancakes?
whatever that kind of movie was around that time. Just I don't know. I didn't want to watch it.
And Allison Pill
Yeah.
plays his daughter.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Allison Pill.
Then we have Don't Be Afraid of the Dark. I saw this. This is mainly Guillermo del Toro is known for writing the screenplay for this. It came out. It was one of those like dump jobs. I can't remember when it came out, but it was like was it? Oh, it was in August 26th. That's essentially September.
I feel like it did okay too. Like I think it was a moderate.
36 million.
Oh, is that all it made?
I can't remember. I can't pinpoint exactly why I hated this movie so much, but I did.
I don't remember it that well.
I think it was just one of those things where I think there's a monster in the basement. Is that what it is? And they have to feed the monster. And
it's all in dark.
yeah,
I think there's multiple monsters actually. I think they're little
Yeah,
creatures
they're all in
and
this-
they take teeth because that's the one thing I remember. There is a scene with teeth
Yeah.
that is very unnerving.
Yeah, I think that's what it is. I
Yeah.
think it was that like so these creatures have been going hungry. They need teeth to live, but it's been like years and years and years. And I'm like, how in the world have they survived for this long if they
Yeah.
just need teeth and everything? And there's some
and it's-
unnerving things
It's
in it.
a remake of a TV movie from the 70s.
Oh yeah.
With Kim Darby, I believe. It was one my mom was a big fan of, and she showed it to me, like we rented it or something. And I don't remember much about it either, other than it just scared the hell out of me because I was probably like 6 or 7 when I saw it.
That one's much higher rated on
Yeah,
IMDb.
that's a pretty popular
But only
TV
this one
movie.
has Katie Holmes.
does have Katie Holmes.
Ah.
Yeah.
See, I forgot about that.
Well, no, I remember I was like, oh, I like Katie Holmes. Man, this movie sucks. Guy Pearce is in it too.
Guy Pearce has
What's it
been
called?
in Don't Be Afraid of the Dark. Guy Pearce has been in some weird shit, man.
I might just throw this into my Recca Warren later, but I just saw there's all these weird movies now. I just ran into this movie on Hulu with Guy Pearce and Pierce Brosnan.
Oh yeah,
that never made it to theater. It was a 2018 film, like called The Spinning Man, I think is what it was called. It's not good, but you're just sitting there like, this has Guy Pearce and Pierce Brosnan.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like, why does nobody know this movie exists? And then you watch it and you're like, oh, okay.
There are a lot of those, though.
I know.
There are those where it has like 50 stars, name stars in it, and you're like, oh, this didn't get a release?
Yeah, there's a bunch of like Morgan Freeman and Tommy Lee Jones and Morgan Freeman and John Cusack.
Yeah.
Morgan Freeman's in a lot of these.
Morgan Freeman and Morgan Freeman.
Right. Double
Morgan
Freeman.
on Morgan.
Yes.
And in The Simple Factor.
Yeah, exactly.
What is that?
What?
Morgan and Morgan for the people.
One of many Farrelly Brother movies that we will cover here, Dumb and Dumber. This was
They start out there?
Yeah, they're from Rhode Island.
Yeah.
So the movie starts out from there too. Yeah.
Okay.
This is I think this is their first, it might be their first movie. I don't know if they had made anything just before this, because this was 94.
Well, I just remember the next one was marketed as from the idiots, What Brung You, Dumb and Dumber.
Yeah, it is the first movie that
Am
they
I
came
the
out
only
with.
one here that doesn't like this?
No, Jeremy doesn't.
No, I don't like this
Okay,
movie
cool.
at all.
I love this movie.
I love Dumb and Dumber.
Oh,
It's got their trademark sick humor in it and everything, and that turns a lot of people off. But man, there's so many funny things in this. I mean, just the simple thing of Jim Carrey walking out of a bar and seeing the newspaper headline, "Man walks on the moon," and he's like, "Oh my God, you can believe that? That's amazing!" So you're saying there's a chance, and there's just a million things in Dumb and Dumber that are funny. Yes, there's some very gross and there's some very stupid things in there.
I can watch it and I can totally see what people are finding funny. Just for whatever reason, it's not connecting with me. This is just not my kind of comedy, I guess, is the main thing.
It had to be those two, though.
Yeah.
Like at this point in their careers.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
It had to be Jim Carrey going over the top. And then Jeff Daniels somehow matching but not trying to get up to the level of Jim Carrey manicdom.
Man, can anybody play dumb and smart as well as that guy?
Jeff Daniels?
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think so.
You know what I mean? You watch something like The Newsroom, and then you watch Dumb and Dumber.
And I think he gives the better performance in the movie.
Yeah.
Jim Carrey's still doing his 1994 Jim Carrey stuff, right?
So there's a lot of funny shit in this movie. I even laugh at some of the dumb shit, like the little kid with his dead bird.
Yeah. Pretty bird.
Oh. But when I saw this movie, this is the lens I viewed this movie through. X-Lax diarrhea jokes. Tongue stuck on a frozen pole jokes. And it felt like very unoriginal to me. It doesn't help now that I'm kind of reliving this experience. One of my infamous college ex-girlfriends. This was a date we went to.
Oh. Not good? Not a good one?
No, she's not good. She was not a good one. You're talking about the movie or the date?
No, the date and the woman and the yes.
All of them were not good. All of this was on a trip to her hometown where I was meeting her mother and brother for the first time. Brother is a ginormous ex-military guy with PTSD who looked like he wanted to smash my head like the mountain in Game of Thrones. Oh, I have issues. Yeah, and I may have colored my viewing of this movie through that.
There are clearly jokes in here that are ridiculously dumb and stupid. Yeah. Like not just the title aside, which is telling you exactly what you're getting into. Yes, it's funny to me that I don't like shit jokes in general. I like that shit joke.
Yep.
That is a great. I mean, that's a Mount Rushmore shit joke.
Yeah, it really is.
I mean, I'll give it that.
Especially the part that when he finds out the toilet doesn't flush, and then he's like, there's a point where he tells the toilet, "Flush, you bastard."
I don't know, man. Like, usually I'm more like with Jeremy or Jonathan on these things. Like, well, I don't know. You feel differently about this movie. Like, that's why I don't get into Idiocracy all that much. It's because everybody's too dumb.
Right.
Like, how are you even alive at this point because you're that dumb?
No.
And they're at this level in Dumb and Dumber.
Well, in Idiocracy, Idiocracy is not a good movie. It makes us laugh because we see little elements of our everyday life that it is almost poking
fuck
fun
every
at.
one of you.
Yeah. And so I don't think it works because on a surface level. I think it only works on a meta level.
Right.
And yeah, comedy level, I think it's the same kind of thing.
But
I think so.
The bird scene, the one thing I always remember about Dumb and Dumber, you might remember this too, but Roger Ebert gave this a fairly negative review. Like he gave it like 2 stars. But he did say about the bird scene, he said, I haven't laughed this hard in forever.
Yeah.
Something like that. They put that shit on the poster.
There you go.
I hadn't laughed this hard in forever. Right. And he loved it. He talked about it forever after that because he thought it was hilarious that they put that on the poster.
I just thought he was real quiet. So yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? Dumb and Dumber has maybe half and half.
Yeah.
Like there's great jokes, and then there's others that are just off-putting, and it depends on which one sticks its head out more.
Have you seen the sequel? Was it really bad?
Oh yes, it was.
Sequel's not funny. The prequel's not funny.
No.
Yeah, so the prequel was actually set in Rhode Island too, but the sequel, I guess they're off doing their own thing.
I can't remember actually. But,
It's called Phoning It In.
Yeah. But and then we have another one, Hall Pass. This is when the Farrellys have definitely fallen from grace.
Did they direct this?
God,
or
I didn't
produce
even know
it? They
that.
did direct it. Okay.
I think they did.
Yeah, they did. This is male wish fulfillment in the form of Jason Sudeikis and Owen Wilson, and it's at the expense of the female characters that are trying to justify themselves as being emboldened by this. Have you seen this movie?
No.
This is where you get a hall pass as a married couple.
Yes.
You can sleep with whoever you want to for whatever period of time.
Yeah.
And which is
those happen.
Exactly, which is a total male wish fulfillment thing.
Right.
And they take it into predictable levels. It's not funny. It's a bad movie.
And they're married to Jenna Fisher and Christina Applegate.
Exactly.
Right.
That
Yeah,
makes
like,
it even
oh
worse.
my God, how can we live?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, man, poor Christina Applegate, man. One day I'm going to go down and write how many horrible comedies she's in.
She's got so funny.
She's hilarious, and she's got Anchorman.
Yep.
But she's got a whole laundry list of like I can't. It's amazing. Every time you get to a horrible comedy, she's somehow in it.
She's even in Father's Day.
I mean,
Yeah.
at least don't tell Mom the babysitter's dead. You can go, she's trying to start a film career because she was still doing Married with Children. I think because that's not a very good show, but the people that are in it are very good. And she's one of them. You know, she stands out in that. And I think she kind of got stuck in that kind of rut for a while. And then she finally broke out a little bit with Anchorman, but then she started doing other shit.
So she's to varying degrees of success here. You can say Bad Moms, I guess, is a good movie or whatever to some. For some people.
No,
not
I
me.
forgot that she was
I
in
hate Bad Moms, but she's in that.
People like
she's
it.
in a Bad Moms Christmas. It was a hit, yeah. But then there's there's some movies I haven't ever heard of. She's in the Alvin and Chipmunks movies as a voice.
She's in that
Vacation,
yeah.
She's in Anchorman 2, which is not good.
Mm-hmm.
Hall Pass. What else is in there? I like The Rocker, but I don't think a lot of people do. Then there is Employee of the Month.
Yuck.
There is Surviving Christmas.
Oh.
View from the Top. The Sweetest Thing, which a lot of women I know like Sweetest
Really?
Thing.
My wife
that
loves that movie.
Is
Yeah.
View from the Top? Is that the Mike Myers
Gwyneth Paltrow?
movie? Yeah.
I've never seen it.
And then in the 90s, it's a bunch of hit and miss type of stuff. Like Mars Attacks is in there and stuff like that. Don't Tell Mom the Babysitter's Dead. But yeah, it's just crazy how many of those that she's in.
And if you see her like on a talk show or just on any, she's so funny.
Yeah.
Like she's just naturally such a funny person.
Mm-hmm.
She has exquisite breasts.
Yes, that's one of my favorite scenes of all time with her.
But Hall Pass is terrible.
Yeah, Hall Pass is awful. Give Hall Pass a pass when you go to when you go through your video selections. Another Farrelly Brothers, Me, Myself, and Irene.
Now that movie is Rhode Island as fuck.
Yeah, it is.
Is this watchable?
Define watchable.
I've found myself watching this movie multiple times.
I have too. I would pick this over Dumb and Dumber.
The the first time he breaks and changes into
in the grocery store.
That whole sequence of stuff that happens is funny to me.
It
now,
is.
I have to look at this with a little bit different eyes too these days, because the one of the scenes that I thought was super funny, maybe it's not funny today. There's a point where he like goes and he sees Shannon Worry, who's like a softcore porn actress or whatever, on a bench, like nursing a child, and then you see him down there sucking on her tits.
Right.
And then there's a point where like right after that he's in the car and he's got a milk mustache.
I may or may not have seen that scene because I may or may not have one day Googled Shannon Weary scenes. It's possible.
Oh yeah. It sometimes happens.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'm looking for like silverware.
Yeah.
And I accidentally the autocomplete.
I think that joke is still funny.
The autocompletes is Shannon Worry.
Yeah, it's weird.
Yeah.
Okay, so he's got Anthony Anderson
Yeah.
and two other guys are his 3 grown black sons
Right.
that he doesn't know are his.
I need to see this movie.
Yeah.
Have you not ever seen it?
No, I haven't. For some reason, I missed
because
it.
he's
His
watchable
wife
stuff.
slept with the limo driver
Yeah.
who was a dwarf.
Yeah.
Yes.
The dude from Bad Santa.
The guy from Bad
Yep.
Santa.
Yeah.
Yep.
And he didn't know these kids weren't his, and it's a running joke the whole. But they're also super geniuses.
Yeah.
They're
Because he's
Elon Musk super. Because
he was
that
a
guy was in
Mensa,
Mensa.
yeah.
They met at Mensa. The former wife, who's from the Pizza Place show, right?
Yeah, it's I think was it Trailer Howard?
Yeah, I think so. The 2 guys, a girl, in a pizza place.
Oh, Ryan Reynolds.
Oh,
The
yeah.
girl
I know
from
what
that
you're
show,
talking
I think, is who's Jim Carrey's wife.
I'm
in
looking
this.
for. I think that's her name. Yeah, Trailer Howard.
And so there's a lot of comedy there, because they actually, if you take aside the absurdity of their relationship and his 3 grown black children that he doesn't know aren't his biological children, there's an actual awesome, loving father and son relationship between all of them.
Yeah.
They really truly love their dad. I think it's not great, but probably better than
Well, and there's
most
a-
remember it.
There's
Yeah.
a part. These guys, like these sons are like just like motherfucker every other word.
You
And
forgot the motherfucking hot pot noodles.
yeah. And he's like, I can't find the atomic mass of this motherfucker.
I need to watch this movie again.
This was
been a
like
while.
what? This is like 2001 or something.
2000.
Yeah, it's 2000.
Yeah,
I think,
I missed a lot around that time.
I think
so.
I don't know. I think when it gets on the road trip part of it with Renee Zellweger and everything, that's where it sort of starts to fall a little bit.
Sure. Yeah,
but
yeah.
even then, there's some jokes in there, like him pissing on the wall, like to the right and above him.
Why am I peeing like I was up all night having sex?
and so there again, this is another one of those movies. Do the bad jokes or the good jokes end up rearing their head in this thing?
Yeah.
And that's your ultimate opinion of that
This
movie.
is kind of right at the edge of Jim Carrey's like comedy chops. You know what I mean? Like
It's-
right
yeah.
before Fun with Dick and Jane and fucking Yes Man and
this
all
is
that
him
stuff.
on at a pivot point, and this is the Farrelly Brothers at a pivot point.
Yep.
And it's weird how that worked out. Like after this, the Farrelly Brothers made stuff like Stuck on You and Shallow Hal and all that, and it's like, well, they've lost something. They've
Yep.
lost some of their magic. And Carrie, Fun with Dick and Jane and all this other stuff.
Mhm.
Yes Man, which is a decent movie.
It's
I kinda
decent.
like it.
I actually watched Yes Man for the first time a few weeks ago. It was decent.
It's-
I was because I really didn't like Fun with Dick and Jane. Like that was a movie that really turned me off of Jim Carrey for a while, and so I think that's why I didn't see some of these. Like Thank You, Philip Morris, and
Yeah.
and
Thank You, Philip
Yes Man.
Morris is great.
Yeah, no, it is. I've seen it since, and it's excellent. So
I love you, Philip Morris. Right?
I love you, Philip
Yeah, I
Morris.
love you.
yeah.
Philip.
Thank you for smoking.
Yeah,
Philip
that's
Morris.
exactly what I was about to say. Which is also a great movie.
Then there's, I think this is a fairly affiliated movie. Did they direct Osmosis Jones? They did.
Osmosis-
Holy shit, they
They
did.
directed the live action parts, but the I was reading about this. The animated parts had already been in the can for like years.
Oh, really?
Of what?
And then the animated parts had
What
already
movie?
been Osmosis Jones.
Oh,
So they directed all the Bill Murray stuff, but then the Farrelly Brothers did. But then the animated stuff with Chris Rock and with who else
David
is in
Hyde
there?
Pierce.
David Hyde Pierce.
William
That had already
Shatner.
been set.
I don't remember liking this.
I
I
never
don't remember
saw
much
this.
about it, but I don't remember liking it.
I remember liking the animated parts, and
Yeah,
the
that's
stuff with
probably
Bill
fair.
Murray is gross and disgusting.
There were
I
a
think
ton
by
of these
design.
weird comedies coming out in this era. Like, and not that they're all the same or anything, but Osmosis Jones, What Planet Are You From?
Yeah.
Just a lot of just weird, like, out of nowhere.
Pluto Nash.
Was
that Gary Shandling?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What,
What Planet
I've
Are You
seen
From?
that.
That
Yeah.
movie's great.
Yeah,
What
no,
Planet
that's
Are
a
You
good
From is
movie.
great.
That's a good movie.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't remember. I never saw Osmosis Jones.
Yeah, I don't think I did
It's
either.
like Interspace. It's it's the white blood cells versus the red blood cells and stuff like that. And I always am kind
Bloods
of
versus
entertained.
the Crips.
The Bloods versus the Crips
in the body.
I'm kind of entertained by that stuff.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, fair enough.
Then there's Other People's Money. Norman Jewison directed this. Danny DeVito.
Yeah.
I don't remember if I saw this or not.
I did. I mean, I remember it being a very funny movie. I've seen it a few times. It's been a long time since I've watched it, but it's one of Danny DeVito's better performances. Like, he's a real bastard in this movie.
He is. How the fuck does Danny DeVito in movies in this era in the 80s and 90s get women like Penelope Ann Miller and fucking just can rack these beautiful women up? God bless him. He's a talent. He's funny. He's fuck me.
Well,
man.
this is him and his, because I mean, just a few years before this, he does Ruthless People, which I think that's one of my all-time favorite comedies, and I think he's just brilliant in that. And then he kind of this is kind of that same type of character, in Other People's Money. But I mean, I can't. It's hard for me to talk about it because it's been so long. But I remember it being funny.
Gregory Peck. He tries to take. In fact, I think he does do a hostile takeover of like. Gregory Peck owns this small family-owned business in Rhode Island.
Is it Gregory Peck?
It was that's it brings me to this thing you're talking about, DeVito getting all these beautiful women and everything. It brings me to a Family Guy joke, which Family Guy is also Rhode Island.
Yeah.
But there's like a cutaway to like when DeVito proposed to Rhea Perlman, and he's like, all right, Rhea, it's either me or nothing else. It's so mean.
Oh yeah, that was a two-puncher there.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Then the Farrelly Brothers did not direct this, but they wrote Outside Providence.
Saw it.
What'd you think?
Hated it.
Really? This is your boy from Alpha Dog.
Yeah, I know.
Sean Hattersley.
Sean Hattersley.
You didn't like this at all?
He's not my boy.
I think he's your boy.
He's the killer in Alpha Dog.
Yes, he is.
He's a bad person. This movie is famous in my mind for the introducing me to the phrase, the teenage lingo for a sex act, stink-fingered.
Ah, yes.
Which is not anything I had ever heard until I'm watching this movie. Am I wrong? Do I have the wrong movie?
I don't remember.
seen it. It's
what
been
it was.
you were making a face like
I've
I
seen
had gotten it
but
wrong.
I don't. But it's been.
Barrett,
since
would you
it came
please
out.
Google stink-fingered and
Google
Providence
Stink-fingered.
and see if I'm right?
I remember it being a very bland movie that I felt like thought it was more important than it was.
Yeah.
Alec Baldwin's the dad, right?
Yeah. Trying to be raunchy for the sake of raunch.
You are correct.
Thank you.
Okay, so I read this book before I saw the movie.
Oh,
long
I didn't know it
before.
was a
Wait a
book.
minute. You Googled Stinkfinger, and
He
it
did.
said it originated in Outside Providence.
It
Well-
automatically brought up Outside Providence.
And did it bring up some
Stink
Shannon
Okay.
Weary films?
Did
Yes.
it bring up Tool too? Because they have a song called Stink Fist.
That's
Ooh,
true.
that's right.
That's a great
Interesting.
song.
Yeah.
This book is really, really endearing. Like, it's a coming of age story about growing up outside Providence, based on Peter Farrelly's background of going to a boarding school in Connecticut.
So he wrote it?
He wrote it, yeah.
Okay.
And then the book or the movie was directed by somebody else, like Chris said, and I don't know how much he had. with-
Carente something. Yeah.
Yeah, and Alec Baldwin is good, especially like he calls his son Dildo all the time. He's like, hey, Dildo.
Yeah.
It's not as good as the book, but I had nice feelings in my belly for
All right.
this.
Well,
this movie.
I remember it felt like, I don't know if I even knew the Farrelly Brothers had any connection to the story at all, but it felt like a Farrelly knockoff to me when I saw it.
It's
That's
got
kind
some
of how
gross
I
out
wrote
stuff.
it off in my mind.
Yeah.
But also, yes, when I was in middle school, whatever words we were using never involved stink finger.
These are a rough group of kids, though.
Yeah, they are. They are. But that was new lingo to me. I thought maybe that was like New England slang.
I also
Yeah,
have
I
a really
guess so.
weird experience with this movie where it was one of those, I'm sure you guys have had these incidents where I was with a friend. It was so random that we brought up this movie because this is probably like 10 years ago. I mean, this was well after the movie had come out. So we're just talking about this movie, walk into like a Jersey Mike's or something. No shit. This movie is playing on the TV.
Oh, wow.
In the Jersey
Interesting.
Mike's.
Wow.
Wow. I don't even have a TV at my Jersey Mike's. Or actually, they do, but they always play college football.
Yeah, that's what I got. Yeah.
Then we have, this is a very good movie, Reversal of Fortune.
Oh,
This is
excellent.
an awesome movie.
Yeah. Jeremy Irons and Glenn Close.
Mm-hmm.
And who was it? It was Barbara Schroeder that
Yeah,
directed this?
yeah.
This is a real life case about who's
Sonny Von Bulow.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
right.
That's
Yeah.
like in Seinfeld where did they have the coma episode?
Yeah.
It's like, I'm a man who respects a good coma. Some are a little later. If you got a real good Sonny Von Bulow coma going on, now you're working on something.
So the case comes about because she's sick and then she dies.
But she's in a coma.
She's in a coma.
Yeah.
But the idea is whether or not he was responsible for killing her or even put her in the coma
Put her
in
in
the
the
first
coma.
place.
Yeah.
Yeah. You have Ron Silver playing Alan Dershowitz in this.
Yep.
And he's great.
Yeah, Ron Silver's amazing in this. And Alan Dershowitz, I don't know if still was considered the top legal mind of our time.
I've never seen a fall from grace so rapid
Right.
by just adjoining himself
There's-
with a certain
I think there's something
ethos.
else to this story that we will find out later.
his alliance with Trump and with Trump followers and stuff like that have really taken this guy down to levels that you wouldn't think of, because he is a brilliant legal mind.
Yeah, that's the thing. How do you go from being the guy that everybody wants to seek out legal advice from to this?
Yeah.
So,
And this is a great example of that movie we talk about, movies for adults that just aren't really made anymore.
yeah, they don't really
And-
seem to make these.
And you've got a director like in his prime, firing in all his cylinders. You know, Schroeder had just done Barfly a couple years prior to this. You got Glenn Close like in her peak. Man, she'd done like Dangerous Liaisons and Fatal Attraction and all this shit. Jeremy Irons is awesome. I mean, it's a great story. It's a great cast, a great director, and it's beautiful. It's it's a hell of a movie.
Yeah. High recommend Reversal of Fortune.
Yes.
And just Jeremy Irons, I think he won the Oscar for this. He's really, really good in this. He's just, I don't know, the way he is, the way he is in this movie is just, you never know quite whether to say he's done it or not, or like you feel he's capable of doing it anyway, but you don't know,
Right.
let the chips
and
fall
he
where
plays
they
that
may.
he plays that dynamic very well. Because like you said, you even like him at times. You know, oh, he's cool.
Yeah.
Oh no, he's not. You're going back and forth the whole movie.
Yeah. Then we have another Farrelly Brothers. This is their most popular one. There's Something About Mary.
Wow. And even that movie's only like the first third in the New England area, right? Because then don't they all go down to Florida?
Correct. Yeah.
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 Playing the Dolphins, you dumbass.
This is Cameron Diaz. Oh, she is so adorable in this movie.
Yeah, she is.
Yeah, this is the perfect example of somebody, and not that we want to encourage this, but you could believe that several men are completely obsessed with this woman because she's perfect in every way.
But this feels a lot nicer than Hall Pass. Like this feels like, like you were talking about male fulfillment. I mean, I still think that's going on here, but she's a very, as strong as a female character is in a Farrelly Brothers movie. I mean, she
totally is.
Yeah.
It maybe this was not the point of the movie, but I always think about poor Ben Stiller in this movie and how is it considered stalking what he does in this movie? He gets caught up in something that he doesn't quite know how to navigate. He wants to find her, doesn't know how to find. That's the stalk. I guess that's the more the stalk part right there.
But it's also pre-Facebook.
Is that he actually hires somebody to go find her? That's the part that's probably the worst out of that whole thing. But then he doesn't know that Dylan is as creepy as he is, and then he just wants to see her again. He doesn't really want to do anything like Chris Elliott ends up being. Like
right.
I don't know. I don't want to make excuses for what he does in the, you know what I mean? Like I'm not in that business. I always think about it seems innocent, but it really isn't.
Well, that's the beauty of the movie is how he keeps stumbling into more progressively more outlandish situations through no fault of his own, picking up a hitchhiker, ending up in fucking jail and all that stuff. And, there's just, he is trying to, despite like the outcomes, he's trying to do the right thing. So I understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
But if he didn't do the stalking in the first, or didn't try to look her up in the first place, which he was convinced to do by Chris Elliott, then it wouldn't have, done the whole thing. But yes.
Yeah.
It's 50-50.
Is he the better of the creeps? Is that what it ends up being?
I don't think there is a better. And when once you've crossed that line, there's just not a better out of that. Like, yes, I guess if you want to go into degrees here, but nobody does anything other than the stalking. Nobody does anything. Well, Matt Dillon does go pretty far. Like he even bugs the apartment at one point.
Yeah, and he drugs the puppy.
Yeah, and he knows that they're listening to his phone conversations.
Right.
Invents that bullshit thing with Jeffrey Tambor. And then you have Lee Evans in this who just has gone complete. Like, I don't even know what his end game is.
I don't either.
He's turned himself into this guy who walks around on crutches and everything. But there's no end game. He doesn't seem like he's
just wants to be around
he just
her.
wants to screw everybody else up,
Yep.
basically. I guess there are degrees in there, but still, once you pass the stalking line, there's not really much that you can hang your hat on.
This might be my favorite Ben Stiller performance.
Yeah.
So it's one of them. I mean, he's so, and I was actually on, so speaking about the years we were alive, I was on the 98 episode, and I think I said this then, but his reaction when he's in the park and the lights come on him, and then all of a sudden he realizes there's all those guys in his facial expression is amazing.
Right after Richard
my
Jenkins,
God.
like early in the movie, has said that rest areas are a haven for gay men and everything. Like they make it pay off toward in that one spot, and that hitchhike, the Harlan Williams thing is so funny.
So great.
The part where the investigators have they don't know. He doesn't know why he's in there. He thinks it's because he picked up a hitchhiker, but they think it's because he's been killing hitchhikers.
Yeah.
And he does that whole question, like, how many have you done in your life? Hitchhikers? My whole life.
Yeah.
he's like, I don't know, 15, 16. And what's funny too is that he's picked up that many hitchhikers. It works on a pretty good level. And then they finally find out they've made the mistake, and he's already in the cell next to like this big hulking dude. And he's just got this look on his face like, yeah, well, I kind of expected this when I went to jail, and I was going to get, ass raped or whatever.
And I always wonder, like, did something happen?
I think it's implied that, yes, something did.
Watch your cornhole.
Yeah. But it's another thing. We were talking about Christina Applegate. When Christina Applegate is allowed to be funny, she's really funny. And like Cameron Diaz has a lot of great lines in this.
Yeah.
You may not remember due to all the outrageousness that's in there, but Cameron Diaz has a lot of great moments in here. Like especially when she's like just talking to Ben Stiller and he's asking her why she's never gotten married. He says, well, I'm bisexual, so that has that's something a lot of guys can't understand or whatever. And Ben Stiller is like sitting there like, well, I guess if you ask honestly of all women, he's like, I'm fucking with you. But yeah, there's something about Mary's great. And then we round out the Barrett has watched it list with The Witches of Eastwick.
I love this movie.
I do too. Yeah. I really love this movie. This is one of my.
I saw it once.
I love Jack in this.
I think I saw it before I appreciated movies enough to really see what was good about it.
Yeah, I've watched this movie a lot.
He's hamming it the fuck up. I mean, he's the devil. So,
and it's based on a John Updike novel, which a lot a people don't realize, and it's a really good book too.
Yeah,
but,
and George Miller directed this.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah. But a big triumvirate of amazing stars here. Cher, you have Michelle Pfeiffer, you have Susan Sarandon.
And this is kind of like Reversal of Fortune. This is an era where they're firing on all cylinders. Like these are just great. This is just a great cast, and it just completely
Susan
works.
Sarandon, man. Even among those three, Susan Sarandon just I can't take my eyes off.
I agree.
Her when she's on screen.
What's the witch movie Bruce Willis is in?
Death Becomes Her.
Death Becomes Her.
Is that Meryl Streep?
Yes.
That
Goldie
movie
Hawn.
and Witches of Eastwick, completely the same movie in my brain.
Wow.
They're very different.
I've seen them both. I'm sure they're very different, but in my brain, same movie.
I actually, I will say though, I really like Death Becomes Her too. But which is
you were rattling off Michelle Pfeiffer and Susan Sarandon. I kept waiting for Meryl Streep, and then he didn't say it. I was like, surely he's not going to skip Meryl Streep. And then I went, wait, maybe that's not the same movie.
Yeah, no,
maybe that's a different movie.
By the way,
this is very good.
I don't know if we'll ever get to this movie for any reason. But She-Devil, do you remember She-Devil?
Yeah, Roseanne Barr.
Roseanne Barr.
I remember it.
How the fuck did they get Meryl Streep in that movie?
I have no idea.
That movie is
awful.
one of the unfunniest things I've ever seen.
It is.
Like there's a certain degree of unfunny.
Mhm.
It's not only unfunny, but it's like real mean spirited. And
Like Louis C.K.
yeah, exactly. And and there's Ed Begley Jr., who's like usually very likable and everything, is such a cock in that movie.
Is that Roseanne's like only movie? Like that's her only like starring role, isn't it? I can't think of anything.
It might
else.
be her only starring
Because I mean
role.
that's who it's not about Meryl Streep. I mean that movie is 100% about Roseanne.
Yes.
So yeah, like you said, I don't know what Meryl Streep was doing in that film.
Hey, they got her in Mamma Mia 2 for 3 seconds.
For reflection.
Oh my god, I never want to see that movie after watching.
Nor should you.
Oh god.
That's bad.
And she's got 30 credits, and a lot of times she's playing herself. So
Okay,
I don't.
okay.
I mean,
I just don't remember another one where it was
I don't
like,
think a starring vehicle. No. Then on to the Barrett didn't watch this list. We have 41 documentary about one of the people who died in the fire at the Great White Show. Holy shit! In 2003,
the place wasn't up to. I want to say the place wasn't up to. It had up to fire codes or whatever, and there was some. They had some pyrotechnics. There might have even been something though where they were told not to do it, and then they did it anyways. And
I remember
and then
this.
something got set on fire, and a couple people
so
died.
it's pyrotechnics that caused it.
Actually, did
Yes.
41 people die?
100 people.
Wow, 100 people.
Yes.
Oh,
100
more
people
died than I
died
thought. I
and
just had a
230 were injured.
Holy crap!
This is 41 is based on one of the kids that died at that fire, like had some sort of interesting backstory, and they wanted to go into that as representative of the types of people that died at this fire. And it was they used acoustic foam instead of insulation, and they set off pyrotechnics at the Great White Show, and immediately went up into flames and killed almost everybody that was
Which
there.
I would
Did the
think,
band
I
make
would
it?
think indoors.
The band, I think it made it out. I'll have to look at that, but
I don't think anybody from the band died.
yeah, I guess not, which is crazy. I guess they just went straight out the back. But there was the issue was there was no code about like the exit, so everybody was just caught in there. So it was awful. But that's what the thing was about. I haven't seen it.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Then we have Bleed for This, Miles Teller boxing movie. You've seen this?
Yeah, fuck it. This is the one where he like ends up in traction, right? Like his
Yeah,
whole
he gets a
body.
halo.
See, this did not look
busted.
good to me, but I've actually heard people say it's good, so I'm
I'm
confused.
I am on a fucking island. Apparently, I'm the only person in the world that's just fucking over boxing movies.
No, and I think that's why I didn't
It's
want
as
to watch
good as
it.
any of them. I thought it was as good as Southpaw. I thought it was as good as any of them.
Yeah,
They're about all on the
Every
same level.
fucking year we get one.
Unless Creed or Rocky's in the title, I don't really care.
Well, and that's crazy because all these non-Creed Rocky ones are largely based on real people.
They are.
And I think this one is. And the doctor said, hey, you'd be lucky to walk again, much less box. And he made it all the way back up to box. Great. Inspirational. Show me a fucking another sport.
Yeah.
They're not the only
Yeah.
sport where people do. It's just because it translates so visually well to mano y mano in our basest instincts.
What a stupid title, too. Bleed for This.
Bleed for this.
Fuck you, man.
Yeah, you should have called it Traction Guy.
Traction for this.
And I know, like, I Miles Teller is a great. I mean, I've seen him. I love Whiplash. I mean, but there is something off-putting with him towards me. I don't know what it is. He's kind of like Joseph Gordon-Levitt to me. I don't know what it is about him that bothers me, but like he doesn't. I never see a preview to a Miles Teller movie. I'm like, can't wait to see that. But then I end up seeing them, and he ends up being good, and they're fine. But I just, for some reason, I'm not like, I don't have a huge desire. I
Very,
guess.
very good and fine.
Then we have Conviction. I remember this coming out. Hilary Swank, Sam Rockwell, Tony Goldwyn
I think I
directed it.
saw this and I think it was good.
Oh yeah,
but it's I think it was just kind of one of the. I believe it's based on a true story.
It is. It's like overturning using DNA, like a conviction or something like that.
And I did see this. It was very.
Oh, is Sam Rockwell the prisoner?
Yes.
I've seen this.
It was very TV movie.
yeah. It's her brother, I think.
Yeah,
Hilary Swank. And then,
I thought it was forgettable.
Yeah, it was perfectly fine, but it felt very much like a TV movie or like an episode of Law and Order or something.
And Melissa Leo's in it.
I like how Hilary Swank wins 2 Oscars and then just starts making all kinds of straight-to-DVD TV movies.
Yeah. There's definitely something about what project she decided to go with. Just none of it worked out. And she may have turned down stuff that would have been great for her career.
She may have.
But yeah, one of the like weirdest 2 Oscar-winning actresses you'll ever run into.
Yeah.
Then there's a movie called Evening that has Meryl Streep and Glenn Close in it. And
All right, look at how. Okay, so Claire Danes, you gal.
Oh.
Claire Danes, Toni Collette, Vanessa Redgrave, Patrick Wilson, Hugh Dancy, Natasha Richardson.
Oh,
Eileen
this is the one
Atkins,
where
and then Meryl
Claire
Streep and
Danes
Glenn
is the young version of Vanessa Redgrave.
Oh.
I think.
I've never seen it.
Right.
I remember it coming out.
Is it about I think it's like a dying woman remembers her first love or what? I'm pretty sure.
yeah,
yes.
that's right, because Claire Danes plays Anne Grant, and then Vanessa Redgrave plays Anne Lord, which I'm assuming is the married name.
And then I have seen this and probably was bored by it because I watched it before I knew enough to appreciate good art. I don't know.
But you watch it because of Claire Danes?
Absolutely.
But it does have Meryl Streep and Glenn Close in the same movie, which I don't know if they've ever been in a movie together.
Which is of Eastwick.
I stand corrected.
Death Becomes the Witches of Eastwick. It's my favorite combo movie ever. That's our next combo video.
That's right. Then we have Happy Endings.
Ooh, I like those.
Yeah, well, it's what it's apparently about. Documentary about massage parlors and prostitution.
So in Rhode Island, it's legal to do them rubbing tugs.
Is that why they do not stop having the mafia in Providence? Sorry, that's a Departed quote I like that nobody ever gets.
The mafia in
That's
Providence.
where Jack goes, boy, they just do not stop having the mafia in Providence.
It may be. But yeah, they apparently went a deep dive into this culture of masseuses, massage parlors that also double as prostitution. Apparently it's legal, or at the time that they filmed this, it's legal to prostitute in Rhode Island as long as it's behind closed doors. This is how it was phrased in the description. So you can't fuck in the open. And
right. Why can't? Yeah.
throw
I
money.
mean, normally I would do this in the park, but
yeah.
you
gotta have a tent or a shack around you.
Yeah,
and then,
yeah.
everything's good.
Then there is Kiss the Bride, which has Amanda Detmer, I remember from Final Destination, and then Sean Patrick Flannery, Brooke Langton. I don't know.
Alyssa Milano.
It's about 3 sisters battling for love and validation.
Yes.
It seems
I love that.
pretty. That seems like pretty generic.
Yes.
And then we've talked about Safe Men, and then finally we end it on the classic Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants 2.
Oh,
So
just
why
the
are they
second
why
one.
are they in Rhode Island in the second one and not? I haven't seen either one of them. But,
Aren't they all spread out?
They're all over the place.
Yeah.
And all of
okay, okay.
They ship the
Yeah.
pants to each other and wear them for a
So
month
someone
or
must have
whatever.
moved.
So
to Rhode
you have
Island.
Alexis Bledel. I've seen this. Alexis Bledel, Blake Lively.
seen the second one?
Yeah,
Nice.
yeah. This. I mean, I'm trying to remember why.
Did you see the cast?
Well, Alexis Bledel, Blake Lively.
Oh, that's why. 2000. Well, it was. The first one was 2005, but the second one, I guess I don't remember. Yeah, I mean, yeah, exactly. It's the cast that got me back.
Yeah, Amber Tamblyn and America Ferrera. I like me some America Ferrera.
Yeah. Rachel Nichols is in this one.
Lucy
Listen,
Hale.
I'm telling you right now, America Ferrera is quietly having a fantastic career. And we're going to look back in 20 years and realize that between Ugly Betty and now this Superstore show that she's on,
Which is great.
Superstore is amazing.
it is. And people aren't talking about it.
It's
Just
so
like nobody
funny.
ever talked about Uncle Betty. That's the gender swap reboot that's coming up soon.
Was John Candy in that?
Yeah. Yeah.
Ooh, boy.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think you're right. Like she's quietly been in like a whole bunch of awesome things.
I love her.
So that'll do it for Rhode Island.
That's it, baby.
But you know what? There's a lot of good stuff in Rhode Island. Like,
yeah.
as tiny as the state is, and as a few that we went over, there were quite a few heavy hitters in there. Mostly thanks to the Farrelly Brothers, but there's a few others in there too.
Yeah.
So, what are we going to do now? Recommends and warns?
Yeah, baby.
Totes amazeballs.
It won the Academy Award
Oh, for what?
for best movie ever made.
I know we've got some ammunition to bring to this discussion.
You finally have some?
I know we're going to talk about this because we're going to do our year-end review in a few weeks of 2018 movies. We have seen collectively, I think, a lot of 2018 movies. Dicer, of course, has seen probably the most, just because he's got access.
You
to
know, I was going to say, in fairness, they send all of them to him.
They do, especially the heavy hitters and things.
I actually made it over 100 this year.
Nice.
I don't know how I did that, but I managed to do it.
I have not counted. I don't know. It seems fewer than the previous years.
On Letterboxd, I've had a Letterboxd count for a few years now. Every year, I just do my rankings as I go. So it's just I just have a list that just accumulates. So that's how I know.
It's an odd time for me because there are 3-4 month stretches where I won't go to movie theaters. And that's very strange for me since I've been a regular moviegoer for as long as I have been, and you throw in the movie theater work and everything. It's weird when it's like 4 months have passed and somebody's like, have you seen anything good lately? And I'm like, last one I saw was like something in the summer, and I can't even remember what the movie was.
When you also have to appreciate, I have my little girl. I take her to as much as she can see. So I mean, 30 or 40 of those movies are probably stuff I wouldn't have even seen necessarily if I didn't have a kid. So that's part of it too.
I'm going to recommend 2 movies. I know that I don't think I've seen anything that has approached pure greatness in the past couple of weeks, but I have gone to the theater a lot in the past couple of weeks. But I'm going to recommend Green Book, which is going to probably be out of theaters soon in your area. It is either gone now or going to be close to be gone.
Yeah.
And this is one of the Farrelly Brothers directed this.
Oh, really?
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's they're sort of the first time trying to be legit with a drama.
Roger Farrelly.
Yeah, Roger Farrelly. I think this is like
Armand Farrelly.
It's Peter Farrelly.
It is Peter Farrelly.
Yeah.
It's the one that directs all.
Yeah, it's Peter Farrelly. Well, I mean, Bobby Farrelly is always credited alongside, but not this time. It's kind of like the Jerry Zucker thing when he went and did First Night and stuff like that. But
you stole my recommendation of First Night.
Yeah, I know. Sorry.
Damn it.
No, I just mentioned it. You can talk about it in glowing terms later. Oh my God! Now my mind just went into 5 different directions.
I'm so sorry.
No, because of First Night and everything. I'll have to tell you what this connection is here in a minute. But Green Book stars Mahershala Ali and Viggo Mortensen, and Viggo Mortensen is driving Mahershala Ali around the South. Ali is an accomplished pianist, and he of course is dealing with a lot of horrible racism in the South. They want him to come play, but they don't want him to stay, essentially, basically. There's like a lot of moments in there where he's, they've asked him to come to this swanky restaurant, this swanky club or whatever, and he wants to eat dinner there, and they won't allow him in the restaurant, even though he's going to play for them and stuff like that. And
he's a classical pianist. It's not like jazz or anything.
No,
like that.
It's classical. But Viggo Mortensen's a bouncer that he's hired. They both live in New York. Viggo Mortensen's a bouncer at I think it's the Copacabana Club. And he gets hired and he's very rough around the edges. He's got a lot of racism in him that he doesn't really consider racism, but he's got a lot of prejudice in him too. But as they are talking on this road trip and everything, he starts realizing things that he says or does might be they both learn from each other actually a lot throughout this, and it's just a good road movie. I mean, the same 60s racism tropes that you've seen in every single one of these movies. It's tiring, but at the same time, you can't ignore it. You can't
they're
forget
for a
it.
reason.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you can't forget it. So, movie-wise, that type of thing starts to feel like stale, even though it's not. It should always be in the forefront. But this movie's really good.
That's
good to
remember
hear.
the Moultons both liked it. But it's not without controversy because the family of the real pianist has come out since the film. This is only a couple weeks old and slammed it.
Really?
For inaccuracies and for never bothering to talk to them.
Huh.
So then Mahershala Ali came out and issued an apology to them saying he had asked for all the resources related to this guy so that he could get as accurate portrayal of his life as possible, and nobody ever told him there were living relatives he could talk to.
Oh.
And so he publicly apologized to the family of this guy for whatever they got wrong. None of that impacts whether the movie's any good or not.
Yeah. What did they say was inaccurate about it? I go into these knowing that there's going to be inaccuracy.
Yes.
So,
I guess I don't know. I would hesitate to. The only thing I remember from the article I read is going to sound tasteless, but they were emphatic that no one had to teach him how to eat fried chicken.
oh, okay.
And the movie has a scene, I guess, that makes a big deal out of him never having eaten it.
Yeah, they go to Kentucky Fried Chicken in Kentucky. So there's like a line. It's like, Kentucky. Viggo Morten's like, Kentucky Fried Chicken's in Kentucky. When are we ever going to have the chance? And so like, yeah, he's like eating it and everything. And he's like, you should try one of these. And Mahershala Ali's he's like, no, I'm not gonna eat that. And he's like, and he says, your people love this stuff and everything. And he's like, you have a very low, very limited opinion of me or whatever. And finally, Viggo gets him to, cause it's greasy. He doesn't want to get all greasy and everything. He's wearing these nice clothes.
Yeah.
But eventually, yeah, he gets the chicken and he loves it and everything. And it's like, they have this bonding moment over it and everything.
Yeah.
But yeah, you go in these movies, you're like, yeah, this shit didn't go down the way it did. It's just parts of the life. You understand that when you go in. I'm going to recommend another one, even though I can see why this one has been so divided. Vice. It's solidly good, but it's oddly paced. And I feel like the reason why a lot of people have been not as big on this as they were with The Big Short is that The Big Short's real kinetic. It like moves super fast. And and this one, there are moments where he goes off on, it's a little bit slower paced. There's a part in there that's really funny because, the movie is asking us why did Dick Cheney decide to be George W. Bush's running mate? He was retired. He was out of politics. He had a great life in front of him. He could just take care of his daughters, all this other stuff. And he's like, we don't know what's going through Dick Cheney's head at this point. There's not some Shakespearean soliloquy that we could do or whatever. And then there's a whole scene where Amy Adams and Christian Bale do a Shakespeare soliloquy together. And it's fun because it's a completely different part of the thing. But it drags the movie down. And there's a lot of these, like, because he did that in The Big Short, it's not the same thing where it's like, hey, here's Margot Robbie in a bubble bath. It's not like that, but it's they'll cut to somebody who's just kind of doing a bit part, and it's a completely fantasy type sequence or whatever, and it's not doesn't work on the same level as The Big Short does. But man, Christian Bale is fucking phenomenal in this.
Yeah.
As you saw in the trailer, you can barely see Christian Bale in it, and it's one of those rare moments where you just completely lose the actor. You don't even know that it's him. There's only a couple of moments when he's talking that I can hear Bale. Can
I ask you something? And I don't mean this pejoratively at all. Why does this movie exist? Does it feel like it's edifying into Cheney's worldview or something like that? Do you think it's explanatory? Do you feel like it offers something, a different take on what we live through in this period? I think not that it's overt in the movie, but I think they are trying to ask themselves, how did we get into the Trump world? Not like it's
it's not overt. Like I
Right.
said, it's not like it keeps showing you all this stuff. There is the moment where Reagan says "Make America Great Again" and his speech in 1980. There's a couple of other little hints in there. There's the discussion about how Roger Ailes shows up early and how they get rid of the fairness doctrine, and this is the reason why we have opinion news now and stuff like that. There are a lot of things like that in there, and it's talking about, it sort of swings on this mysterious guy who was vice president for 8 years, who was, according to this movie, really the guy in charge of things.
Sure.
And so I think that's where it was. That's why I think that movie was made.
Mhm.
It's about a guy we have never really explored. Like, and why haven't we explored this guy? And what did he do that possibly got us to where we are now? And there's a lot of discussion of it's the theory, the executive something theory of that president has complete and absolute power. And a lot of people believe this. A lot of people believe that the president has all the power. No matter what they do, it's not illegal because they're the president. And Cheney was a big, like, he researched this a bunch, talking about, like, trying to find all these, and he found people who agreed with him, lawyers who agreed with him, and they ended up being on his staff. And so a lot of the presidential powers is discussed in this too. So I don't know if they've come right out and said that, I don't think Adam McKay's come right out and said, this is the reason why we made this movie. I haven't read any articles or anything about it, but it does have the hint of
Okay, so it's more
where
than
we
just
are
a straight up
today.
biopic.
Yeah. Where we are today. Where did he get this? There's a scene in there where he's talking to Donald Rumsfeld early on. This is when Rumsfeld is Cheney's boss, and Cheney is just like some ne'er-do-well fuck-up guy. And he's trying to figure out what he wants to do for his career. And he sees Donald Rumsfeld talk at a college. And afterwards, all these people team up to be a Democrat versus a Republican. And this one guy comes up to Cheney, and he's like, I was wondering if you minded if I was the Democrat in this thing, because I've already talked to them and all that. And Cheney goes, what was the party of the guy who was just talking up there? And Rumsfeld is like, oh, he's Republican. That's what I am.
Yeah.
And then it's sort of like it came to this decision based on just a dude talking that's according to the movie.
Right.
Anyway, oddly paced, very slow. It's slower paced than Big Short. Bale's amazing. I would watch it though.
Gotcha.
I'm gonna check out both of these.
What you got, Jonathan?
I did want to mention, this wasn't what I wrote down, but I recommend, but I did, because you guys just talked about this a couple weeks ago, but I did see Into the Spider-Verse.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to shout out to that real quick. 2018 has been a perfectly fine year. I've seen a lot of great movies. I've seen very few movies though that have really stuck with me that long, I guess would be the way to put it. This is one of the few movies I want to see this again so badly.
Spider-Verse?
Yes.
Yeah.
And I was kind of upset actually watching it, because I did the visual aesthetic is a little distracting at times, as you've mentioned, with the blurring and everything. It was one of those things where I wish I had seen it in 3D. This was one of the few movies where I can actually say,
about that too, yeah.
I think it would be really interesting to see. Unfortunately, the theaters around me, they don't have the 3D showing anymore, but that's the only thing I'm kind of upset about. But I just thought it was amazing.
Very good movie. I did see this.
Oh my God. I even tweeted, I just said initial reaction, this is one of the best animated movies I think I've ever seen. And then I said it might, in the grand scheme of things, be like my favorite superhero movie. There's just something about it that in fact, it got me to where I do want to see what they do with the next Spider-Man movie, but I kind of almost wanted to see another one of these instead.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's kind of like, I just want to see this continue and see what they do with this. And
it's so well done. It's so the characters and the story. Just
and you were dead on with the voice.
smack
The
it.
voice acting is unbelievable in
Yeah.
this movie.
Yeah.
It's just they casted everybody perfectly. And Lily Tomlin is outstanding.
Yeah,
I
I
love
like
the
seeing-
Aunt May character.
Yeah, I like seeing her as a badass.
Which I haven't really read much of the Miles Morales stuff, but I had read some of the Ultimate Spider-Man universe, which is where Miles Morales takes place in. And I liked her character in the comic, and I thought they captured that really well, where she's more involved in everything eventually. and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, that was great. But I know you guys had already discussed that quite a bit. So the one thing I wanted to mention, I finally finished The Haunting of Hill House.
Remake?
The show on Netflix.
Yeah,
the 1999.
I was about to say,
it's amazing.
Why are you announcing this to the world? I've completely forgotten that
I
there was
watched
a TV
that
show.
in first night. No, the TV show. It was a 10-episode miniseries. Which I think they're actually doing a second season. I'm not sure how, but I watched the first 2 episodes in October when it came out, and then just like a lot of stuff, we got busy. I got busy with Sin stuff or whatever.
Oh,
and
I got busy.
Yeah, I got busy, and I couldn't. I never got back to it. But then recently, I was able to get back into it. It's unbelievable. It might be like the best thing I saw in 2018. Like it literally feels. I mean, it's episodic. Like it's got clear chapter breaks and whatnot. It is a TV show, but at the same time, it almost feels like kind of like a 10-hour movie. Or whatever the actual time running. I guess they're 40 minutes.
Yeah.
What is this on?
It's on Netflix.
It's on Netflix.
And I will say, I'm a huge lover of the Shirley Jackson novel, The Haunting, 1963, not the 1999. The 1963 Haunting is one of my all-time favorite horror movies. One of my all-time favorite movies. So I was very skeptical.
Yeah.
And they modernize it, it's such an interesting way to do an adaptation of the book. It focuses on the actual initial family, not the initial family, but the family that bought it. And I don't know, it's just a really interesting way to do the adaptation. Because I had no idea how they were going to make this last for 10 hours or how they were going to make this into a TV show, but they do it really well, and it's got a great cast. And it's just Carla Gugino is that, I don't know how to say her name.
Yeah, that's how I pronounce it.
Okay.
It's also got a fucking
She's so
smoking cast on it too. It's Kate Siegel,
Yeah, which is
who plays the psychic one, who is fucking on fire,
and that's Mike Flanagan that's his wife or girlfriend,
right?
Yeah.
And then Carla Gugino still looks unbelievable. And then Elizabeth Reese,
she's very good.
who's got one of them 5'6" heads, but she is very pretty.
And Kate Siegel is awesome. She's also, if you guys saw Hush, she's the main actor, which is also a Mike Flanagan film. She's the main actress in that, and I thought she was really good in that. But she's great in this.
Man, Mike Flanagan made a hell of a pivot from Major League Baseball pitcher to film.
He really did. Like, how did that happen? Most people can't do that.
Some deep early 80s Orioles humor for you all out there.
But I don't really want to. I mean, other than obviously there's Hill House, it's haunted, and this kind of takes place like years after they lived there as kids. And then it goes back. Obviously, it shows you things that happened when they were kids, and then there's shit happening to them now. So it kind of has this goes back and forth. It works really well. I don't want to give anything away. If you haven't seen it for some reason, I highly recommend it. Even if you're, I think it's like you liking The Conjuring. Even if you're not a horror movie fan, it's just a great story.
I've seen nothing but people I respect raving about this.
It's just a great story.
I watched the first 5 episodes and I loved it, and I again got busy. Was having sex.
You married Elastigirl and got busy.
Well, doing CinemaSins, which is awesome, and I love it so much. But one thing about it that Dicer and I talk about a lot is we just keep getting to watch like one episode of something, and then it's like, oh my god, we've got to rewatch that or watch it all for the first time, but then we got to go do another episode. So, but this was something where I was like, I just got to sit down and watch this. I hear too much about it. I did the Horror Virgin podcast, and they were talking about it on that. I'm like, I've got to go finish this, and so I just made myself do it one weekend. And I loved it. So like I said, it might be my favorite thing I watched in 2018.
I'm going to recommend something I briefly mentioned earlier, and I'll recommend a second movie that Chris has mentioned earlier. That one is Three Identical Strangers, documentary.
Yep. Excellent.
Is now on Blu-ray. I assume that also means it's on digital. I don't fucking do digital, so I don't really know. I don't care.
It's on Prime.
Yeah, just let me see the fucking movie. It's really all I want to know. You can watch it now, and it's really, really good. It's one of those layered documentaries that goes places no one expected. Not quite as hard a left turn as the Tickling documentary, which still haunts me a little bit. But it starts out with these two guys realize they're twins that were separated at birth. They end up going on TV, and a fucking third guy's like, I think I'm one of them. And so these 3 kids turn out to be triplets that were separated at birth. And the documentary is sort of exploring
Let me ask you this while you're hemming and hawing, because I know the story, but I haven't seen the movie.
Did you already know the story before?
I knew the story. I didn't know it was associated with this particular
I don't think it would
thing.
impact your enjoyment of the movie.
I'm still going to watch it. My question is, does the movie present it to where you would take a side one way or another? Or is it just that you're compelled to watch how weird this thing got?
Who are the two sides? I think the movie picks the side of the kids, the brothers.
Okay. Yeah.
And says they got done dirty.
They were
so did a bunch
mistreated.
of other
Yeah.
people who haven't had the opportunity to even.
Yeah, I would say if you haven't seen this, don't look up Wikipedia or anything. Just
Yeah.
watch
Oh, sure,
it.
Yeah. So that it's just it's a great documentary, and I don't want to say much more because it's so new. If it was 10 years from now, I'd flat out spoil the thing for you, because I do think where it goes is a fascinating hook that might get some people to watch it that would otherwise ignore it. But there's more there than meets the eye.
Yeah, it not only explores the oddness of them finding each other and all that, and then the reason why they were separated in the first place, but it also explores how media coverage of something like that tends to color your perception of people in general and all that. Like, while things that were going on weren't exactly lies, the things that you see on screen give you a different perception of how those people really are in real life.
Well, and I don't think it's spoiler to say, like, they did a lot of TV. They did a lot of interviews. It's crazy. You can tell the hard line of when this takes place because they're like on stage with Tom Brokaw, like fucking smoking cigarettes. Yeah. It's crazy. But so it's played up in a lot of these TV appearances how similar they are, how their sense of humor is the same. They all smoke the same brand of cigarettes. They all like the same kind of girls. And the movie will later tell you the kids are like, we kind of played that up. We wanted to be alike. We wanted that, so we were just going along for the ride. I fucking loved it. I watched it for my wife. She's the one that wanted to watch it. But I
don't know how this story is not more well known because it's. I don't remember it at all. I mean, this happened when I was a kid.
That's the thing, man. It hit right before the internet, before the dissemination of that kind of information could be national in a second. So if you weren't watching the talk shows in the early '80s, like I wasn't, you'd never heard of this.
Yeah, because they were on Donahue.
They were
and
everywhere.
Donahue.
They were everywhere.
They were on
Donahue.
and they were on like Newsweek or Time, or they were on magazine covers, and it was crazy.
My other recommend is I'm going to come back to The Death of Stalin because I watched it again since last podcast, and I just wanted to double down, especially for you two. You guys should watch this.
I got to do
watch
it. It's on Showtime, the one channel that I don't have.
Okay, I was going to say
I'm just going to buy it or whatever.
Yeah, I got to that point at one point too because Showtime was the only one I didn't have.
Have you seen In the Loop?
Yes.
Okay.
I've seen The Loop because of Chris. He turned me on to it.
And these are the same people, right, that made this? Okay,
and
great. I'm seeing it then.
I watched Veep because I'd liked In the Loop so much. I watched Death of Stalin because I found out it was the same people who did those. And it's just fucking hilarious. Like it's all that subtle humor that you get from In the Loop, right? So there's a cabinet meeting after Stalin's dead, and they're trying to pass some new regulations, and Steve Buscemi wants to object, but he's basically getting talked down, and then before he can do anything, Tambor calls for a vote. And he lifts his hand, and two other people do, but there's four hands not moving, but Tambor goes, and the measure passed. And one more guy raises his hand, and Tambor goes, you. And another person raises his hand, and he goes, Nana. And then finally Buscemi raises his hand, and he goes, must leave. He basically talks them into, like, almost threatening them. We're going to pass this unanimous. We never pass anything. It's not unanimous, bitches. I have watched it 4 times
I've
now.
gotta see it.
Really?
And I just don't go back to movies that regularly. And so I think that means something, at least for me. And so if you like my taste...
no, and I get Showtime, so I definitely need to watch that.
I would hit it up because
tonight.
it just makes me fucking cackle. Buscemi is just he's just on the edge of a panic attack almost at times. And he's put upon, I fucking loved it.
I got to get into it.
Anyway.
Nice.
Let's hear yours now.
I watched so Taylor Swift had her Netflix concert that came out yesterday, I guess, on New Year's Eve.
Reputation.
Now, I'm on record as hating this album. I think this is a terrible album. It's got a couple of bright spots on it, like
no, I'm with
Delicate,
you. I'm with
things
you.
like that. And so the majority of this concert is based on that Reputation album, which I hate. But man, First off, my girl Taylor looks good.
Mm-hmm.
All right, and I'm gonna go there. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
She got thick
Mm-hmm.
in that
In the right way.
THICC
Mm-hmm.
way.
Right.
God bless her, man.
Yeah.
I mean, this is. I'm actually literally not kidding. She looks really, really good.
Yeah.
And she's gotten sexy. Like I know she's always had the sex appeal and stuff like that, but she's also been kind of the good girl and all that stuff. Yeah. I mean, she's really grown into herself as an artist. When she got into the deep cuts and even like the older hits and stuff like that, I thought it was really good. She's obviously a terrific performer, but she's gotten better as a dancer. So I think I would probably recommend this. And yeah, definitely.
All right. I'm watching it.
The one that I really wanted to talk about is one that Chris had mentioned a while ago, the Bo Burnham movie, 8th Grade, which I hadn't seen until like just a couple days ago, actually. Have you seen this yet?
I actually haven't. I it's on my list. It keeps staying on my list. I actually, for what you said, is why I don't want to watch this movie. Like, I have anxiety thinking about watching this movie.
Well, it's a good movie.
I'm sure it's very good.
It's a really, really good movie.
Good.
It's interesting because you can tell that this was his first directing gig because there's just some choices that you don't see in common movies, I guess, like the way he pans the camera and the way he does things. But there are some times where it's perfect. So it's interesting because I watched this and everybody thinks about 8th grade and like, oh yeah, I remember 8th grade and everything. I actually didn't remember 8th grade all that much.
Yeah, I hardly remember. I remember some things.
You remember high school. You remember like your first years of middle school. You remember some of elementary school and that kind of thing. But what this did was, okay, first of all, it's an amazing performance by Elsie Fisher.
Yep. Who was nominated for a Golden Globe. And
God damn, she is amazing in this. The way that she walks with a hunched shoulder, the way that she talks. I think you mentioned where she peppers in all the likes and the stuff that like people actually literally say, especially in that generation. It's got Josh Hamilton from Grover from Kicking and Screaming, who's one of my all-time favorites, as her dad. And so she's great. And there's a couple of moments in here where she's just going through the moments that you think, are typical 8th grade. Like she's preparing for a swim party and she's got to get into her bathing suit and everything. Has almost a full-blown panic attack. And it's filmed beautifully. It's acted beautifully and things like that. And the way that she talks herself into overcoming these daily obstacles, and she's not a very social person. She doesn't have a lot of friends, that kind of thing. And I was like, that's crazy. I get anxious watching this, but like I have no relation to that. And then I started thinking about 8th grade for me. And it wasn't good. I didn't remember like how bad. There was a lot of social issues going on. There was I had terrible acne back in those days. That was painfully embarrassing. I was in that friend transition. You guys remember that friend transition from either it was when you have to leave to another school or whether you're going from 8th grade to middle or to high school. I was in full-on friend transition. And that means that former friends started hating you and new friends started kind of liking you, and you're in this in-between thing. Bottom line is it devastated me. This movie was, I'm probably not going to watch it again. There are amazing beats in this. The interplay between Kayla, I think her name is Kayla, and her father is perfect, especially as it gets towards the end. But it is a very, very realistic depiction of 8th grade, especially in this day and age when obviously I wasn't doing a YouTube channel or something like that in 8th grade and connecting via social media and stuff like that. But it still hit the same themes that I did, 40 years ago or whatever.
Was Burnham doing a YouTube channel that early in his life, or was he a little older when he started it? I don't know how old
he was. Like 16, 17.
Okay,
16,
okay.
Somewhere around there. But
so it's a recommend for sure.
Yeah.
It's just it was a rough watch for
I
me.
saw him on a talk show not too long after this came out, and apparently that girl, what's her name? I'm sorry,
Elsie Fisher.
So she went back to school after they filmed the movie. Like she's in whatever 8th grade, 9th grade, whatever she's in, and she's in like public school or whatever. And apparently she tried out for the school play and didn't get it.
Oh, really?
Like, didn't get in the play at all. And so Bo Burnham's on this talk show. So he's like, so I'd just like to say to like whoever, like Mrs. Davis, go fuck yourself.
But yeah, the movie still has a couple of great moments for the year for me. There's a mic drop moment that is so winning, but also like has a different effect on it, like where she finally drops the mic against some people that you know,
talking about towards the end.
Yeah. It's a great moment for her, but as an audience member you have a dual feeling about the scene.
Yes.
There's also I liked her performance and just when she was doing her YouTube videos, how many times she starts all this, she's not perfect. She's not polished.
Right.
Which is what they would, if they made this Hollywood, she'd be like we got to make her likable so that she can't have those and start stops and all that and whatever.
She'll even say like, I forgot where I was going with that. Anyway.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And stuff like that. So, a highly memorable movie. And when, Dicer asked for top 5s from everybody, I put it in my top 5.
Oh.
Currently. Still have so many to see.
I sent mine to him before I saw this, so it might sneak into my top 5.
I sent him mine before I saw Spider-Verse, and I was like, damn it.
Are you interested in seeing this? Are you going to watch
grade?
this? Yeah.
Yeah, it's very near the top of my stack.
Yeah.
So
I'm in the same
next
boat.
theater viewing for me, it has to be Spider-Verse, and then the favorite.
Yeah.
And that's one that I even forgot when I did my top 5. Like, I was like, it should probably fit in there somewhere. There was 3 that sort of missed the cut, but the favorite's up there too.
Yeah, that was in mine.
But this is pretty high on my list. I'll probably watch this. It's funny. I don't really want to admit what I'm about to admit. I still haven't watched Manchester by the Sea because of how you guys described it as so soul crushing. And I have to be in such a specific place to be willing to go down that path. But this one, I don't think will be quite the same. Now, you didn't think it would be going in, and it still kind of crushed your soul, and I don't really remember 8th grade very well, so maybe I'll get in here and learn some shit. I don't know, but I'll probably watch it pretty soon.
Well, and that's the thing interesting about Burnham, though, if you watch his Netflix specials and stuff, I mean, it's funny, but it's also sometimes kind of sad because you relate to it more than you want to.
Yeah.
But I will say, though, he's got this bit, it's the song he does, it's Lower Your Expectations. Do you know what I'm talking about? Yeah. That's like one of those things I put on YouTube sometimes just when I'm down. Like, it always makes me really happy.
Yeah.
So what you should do is watch 8th grade and then immediately follow it up with Taylor Swift's performance.
Yes.
And then Manchester by the Sea.
The grown up into her body Taylor Swift performance.
I mean, she's sturdy.
Mm-hmm.
She's...
Mm-hmm.
I might have to watch
She's
that
a brick
before
house.
Death of Stalin.
That's right.
I had all kinds of ways to describe her to my wife last night, and none of them were appropriate.
She's a brick. How?
I can imagine your wife's reactions right now. Sorry,
we have time for some warns.
Sure, yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Now, like I said, I've watched a bunch of movies that are in between, like hard to recommend, hard to warn. And I finally just said, you know what? I'm gonna man up here, and I'm gonna warn against this movie. Ralph Breaks the Internet.
Ooh,
really?
I am anxious to hear this. I still haven't seen this movie, by the way.
First off, I think I think the movie is overly cynical. Maybe it's presented in a sort of like this. First off, they go in the internet so that he can buy a steering wheel that is broken off of Vanellope's game. And they go on, they can't access eBay from where they're at, obviously. So they have to go inside to go to eBay, and then they somehow bid on the steering wheel. And there's this pretty funny thing where they jack up the price ridiculously for no reason because they're stupid. And then they go to pay for it, and obviously they don't have the whatever $37,000 or whatever it was that they ended up bidding on the steering wheel. So Ralph has to start making viral videos, and by doing the viral videos are all based on things that are already popular. So like it's a YouTube like service. They never say YouTube in this whole thing, but it's a YouTube-like service where Ralph decides that he's going to do stuff with pepper challenges and like goat bleats and all this other type of stuff. And it's Ralph's head on a lot of these things, and Ralph doing a pepper challenge and doing all this stuff, which I think is the cynical heart of that movie, is I can get popular by doing what we've already done and blah, 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 which fucking, are you kidding me, Disney?
Yeah.
Of all people to preach that shit.
Right. So of course none of these views on themselves are very much. They're not a lot of money, but he has to keep making these videos, and there's a whole movie just sort of stops on this for a while where it's this. Then there is, I believe, what is a 30-minute interminable ending where Ralph's essentially id, like there's multiple ids of Ralph that form into this big huge Voltron of a Ralph that becomes the movie's sort of villain in the thing, because Ralph does something to Vanellope again in this, which makes her hate him, and they have the big third act break and all that. That third act, I was like, God, is this ever going to end? This seems so long, and it's playing on the fact that Vanellope wants to be in this new game, which means that she won't be in her old game and that Ralph will never get to see her again. And so he does a lot to try to prevent her from going into this game. So the message is about what should you do with your friends when they want to do other things, and do you get to how much power do you really have in that dynamic? You don't have any. You got to be happy for people when they want to do other things and everything. But that's the main crux of it, is like how far Ralph will go to make sure she doesn't stay in this game. And it turns into a whole thing in the internet where there's multiple Ralphs all into a big huge Voltron Ralph or whatever, and that's the thing that they have to sort of fight against at the end. I enjoyed myself for parts of it, and I nearly considered this sort of in between, but boy, that ending, man, it just seems like it takes forever, and ultimately I did not like it. Maybe I'll watch it again. Maybe when we send it or whatever, I'll be like, oh, this is way better. I was just in a bad mood or something like that. I don't know.
I don't know. It seems like it confirms a lot of the suspicions that we had.
Yeah, that
about
sounds
it.
like everything I was hoping it wouldn't be.
Okay, so I liked it. But one thing, though, that's different, when I say I see every kid's movie, I see every kid's movie. Like, my daughter and I go to the movies all the time. It's just what we like to do together. It's fun. So I saw this literally in the same week I saw Nutcracker and The Grinch. So this came off really awesome. Yeah. But I know, I see what you're saying. I liked it though. I enjoyed it overall. I didn't mind the ending as much as you did. I laughed a lot. I will say it's very surface level. I don't think there's a point for this movie to be. I mean, I don't think this movie's saying anything. I don't think there's a need for this movie, but if they're going to make a Wreck-It Ralph sequel, I think it's fine. It's nowhere near as good as the original. I liked Incredibles 2 better probably, but I kind of had the same problem with Incredibles 2. I liked Incredibles 2. I really enjoyed myself. Haven't thought about it since. And I don't know that it needed to be made. But it was made, and it was a great, it was a very good sequel for what they were trying to do. I mean, they did a good job. I think they did a better job than Wreck-It Ralph, but I don't know. Those kind of fell together for me because they're both Disney. But I don't know. I liked it, but I could easily see watching it a second time and not liking it, whereas you could easily go up a little bit.
Yeah.
So I think we're kind of
Let me ask you
close to
this.
the same page.
Are there any fresh Bitcoin jokes in the movie?
Is there a Bitcoin joke? I'm trying to remember.
I don't think there is, actually.
The internet stuff is interesting. The Disney stuff is obviously, they have a pretty firm grasp of what to do with that. The princess stuff's pretty funny.
Yeah, that was actually pretty funny. And from the trailer, I hated the stuff in the trailer, but then when it actually got it to it in the movie, I thought, okay, this is actually pretty funny.
Yeah, they had some fun stuff in there, but no, I know what you're. I don't know what the point of this movie. Like, I don't know what the movie's trying to say.
Mm-hmm.
And also, it does a really weird thing where, and this is a typical sequel thing, where it's like you've got to have somebody be down a little bit from the first one, which I never understand. So Ralph is an asshole for a lot of this movie.
Mm-hmm.
And that's weird because
Yeah.
it's like, I don't want Ralph to be an asshole.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, create a villain.
I think the ultimate movie's message is about, if you're friends with somebody and they have an opportunity to do something else that's without you, then you can have the right to be sad, but not the right to prevent them from getting into that. And I think that's what they're trying to say. It's just that I don't know if we've had enough of a relationship with Ralph and Vanellope for them to get to this point in the second movie.
Exactly.
Like, this feels like more of a third movie type of thing that should happen. In the second movie, they should build that relationship that they started in the first one, and then by the third one, if she wants to go. But now that it's like, they're already like they're already gotten to the, straight to, like, I guess we're not going to make any more Ralphs anymore. I mean, that's the thing. He still can go visit her and everything. It's not like there's any, it's just that she won't be in the same arcade anymore and everything. But I'll have to see it again to really make sure. But like I said, I've decided I'm going to warn on this.
All right.
Yeah. I mean, there's enough great animated. I mean, go see Spider-Verse.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, there's enough out there. Watch the first Wreck-It Ralph again.
Yeah.
Mine's pretty silly, but this was one of those. I had one of those nights where I couldn't sleep, and I was just looking to see what was on streaming, and I was like, it's 10:30 at night. I think I should watch a sorority slasher. Film
I love these
with Randy Couture.
Yeah.
So
yeah, of course.
So I found one called The Row. And no, it had just premiered on Hulu or Amazon Prime or one of those. So I watch it. Now, here's the thing, though. Like, there's a couple things that weird. Okay, first off, no surprise. It's absolute shit.
Yeah.
But it's not sleazy, though. That's the weird thing. Like,
that is weird.
It's really weird. Like, other than, like, they show, like, bloody kills.
Yeah.
This almost would not even need to be an R-rated movie.
Dude, this movie's already terrible. And I'll tell you why. When you go to watch Sorority or Beach House or Cabin or any of the type of places that you put four young women in, for the weird, like, lingering, like, unnecessary shower scenes. You do that, and there's none in this.
No.
So I'm not watching this.
No, and it's I don't even know how to talk about it. It's so bad. Randy Couture plays, like, this cop, and he's trying to track down this serial killer that ends up finding out that the killer's on his daughter's campus, of course, and he's killing these sorority girls. Mm-hmm. And then, even though I'll spoil this. I don't even give a shit.
Yeah.
You should not watch this. Even though it has nothing to do, it's one of those things where then they find out, his daughter finds out because her mom's been dead for a while. She died in this fire or something. And she finds out that her mom was actually part of the sorority that she's trying to join. So she gets really pissed at Randy Couture because he never told her. Then you find out that the mom was involved in this rush prank thing where this woman ended up killing herself. So this is just something like the daughter discovers. This has nothing to do with the serial killer case. But then, of course, this totally ties into the serial killer case. The woman's younger brother, who's been dating the daughter, ends up being the killer. And he's avenging his mother's death. And, Randy Couture, I mean, I've only seen him in the Expendable movies. I don't think he's up there with, like, Batista or anything, but he's fine. I don't know why he's doing this.
No.
But yeah, no, it's just, I mean, if you're in the mood for a sorority horror movie, I would stay away from this one.
Yeah.
Damn it. I had that queued up and ready to go today. Thanks.
Such a specific genre.
Yeah, that's right.
I got nothing. No, I haven't seen anything in the last week that I disliked enough to warn, and I just did 2 recommends this week and move on. Mm-hmm. We got some questions though. I think if we have a few.
Yeah,
minutes,
you want to do a couple few?
Okay.
Question.
I got something to say. I want the truth.
I am listening.
So I saw Overlord. It was advertised like shit. I was blown away by the first half. Then the Wolfenstein stuff came in, which was good. I just thought it was going to be the whole movie. Anyway, it got me thinking, what are some of the movies that didn't start as the franchise it wound up as, or got fused with another movie along the way? Interesting. Have you seen Overlord?
I have.
Did you like it?
Yeah, no, it was fun. It was fun. I don't know that I'll ever watch it again, but it was, I had a good time watching it.
What do we think here? Like a movie that went just in completely different
it almost
directions.
sounds like they're asking when they say franchise, like the franchise itself changed, but I think it's meaning the movie.
Right.
So the one that I came up with, I might be able to come up with better ones, but The Color of Money seems like it starts out one way and then it becomes a different thing in midway through. Remember, the whole arc of Color of Money is Paul Newman trying to teach Tom Cruise how to hustle pool. And you think that the whole movie is going to be, will Tom Cruise finally get it? And we're going to finally see them like hustling all these towns and everything. And they're going to go to the championship at the end and all this. It's going to be, that's the way the movie is. Because it's a Scorsese movie, he's not interested in doing anything like that. He midstream sort of makes it a Paul Newman movie, and Cruise sort of kind of gets out of it after a while, because Newman's fed up with Cruise and doesn't even hang around anymore and says, look, I've taught you everything that I know. You can either use it or not. And then it's Newman now trying to get his redemption and trying to figure. So he's trying to get to the point where he's a good pool player again. And you see him practicing all the time and he's trying to win the championship and everything. So I feel like that movie sort of changes midstream. Like if it was a typical Hollywood movie, it would be like Kingpin is, where, he's teaching him everything he knows. And then by the end of it, maybe Paul Newman has to get in the championship because Tom Cruise breaks his arm or something like that. But it seems like it's geared towards Cruise the entire time. Is he finally going to get it? Is he finally going to do? And they completely switch.
Yeah.
So
I saw that not that long. I rewatched that a few months ago. I always forget how great of a movie that really is. Because I always, part of me always wants to go, I can't believe that's what Paul Newman won the Oscar for, considering the other stuff he was nominated for. But it's not like A Sin of a Woman.
No.
Thing. It's not. I mean, it's just a great movie. I think that's a great answer. I kind of went a different direction because what popped in my head was, and I wasn't sure if this is what he was asking, but what popped in my head were movies that started off as something and then went something different. And this is not a good movie, but Cradle to the Grave. Do you remember this with DMX?
I'm trying to remember if I saw it. I remember the movie. I remember the movie. I don't know if I remember. I don't know if I saw it.
So this movie was initially, when it went into production, it was supposed to be a remake of the 1931 Peter Lorre movie M, where Peter Lorre plays, it's been a long time since I've seen this. He's a serial killer. I believe he kills children. It's a really, really dark movie.
Yeah, I've seen it.
But Cradle to the Grave, this somehow turned into a child-killing serial killer movie to a diamond heist, kung fu, hip-hop soundtrack movie called Cradle to the Grave.
Right.
To the grave.
Yeah.
And I can never, that's been the craziest, like, in all of the things I've ever read about what movies were initially.
Does this have the X going to give it to you in it and everything?
It might.
I think the trailer,
because I want to say this is like 02, 03.
Is Belushi in this movie?
Probably.
I've seen it. Tom Arnold's in it.
I think Belushi is in this. I think you're right.
I'm pretty sure Belushi was in something with DMX.
Maybe I'm thinking Tom Arnold, but I've only seen it once, but that's just always been the fucking craziest like transition of what a movie was supposed to be and then what it became. I will also say there's this movie called The Row that's supposed to be a sleazy sorority slasher film, but it becomes a very tame Lifetime movie. So, yeah. That was my answer.
Did you want to go last?
No, I can go now.
Go ahead.
I'm going to change gears, though. I misread the question to be franchise and was going to say Fast and Furious, which started out as undercover.
That makes sense.
Undercover
It
cops
does.
and
No,
car
I
races.
think-
I think that's a great answer.
But within a movie, I've always liked how well Pineapple Express transitions from stoner comedy to stoner action comedy.
Ooh, I like that.
Because at the end, he's doing like Seth Rogen's doing like that 2-story slow-mo spider jump on top of the back of what's his name, and you got slow-mo machine guns up in the top of the warehouse, and it's a full-on action film. But it doesn't feel like that until about halfway through. I guess right about the time they get their ass beat at Kenny's apartment. Kenny from Eastbound and Down.
Yeah, no, that's exactly what it is. I mean, you can technically say that when he sees the killing at Gary Cole's house is where it turns into, because before that, like, he's making calls to the thing, he's smoking up with James Franco,
Watching 227.
He's got he's watching 227, he's got the weird relationship with the high school girl, and then all of a sudden, from that point on, bang, with the blood like everywhere, you're like, what the fuck is going on here? And then that fight is insane.
Yeah, that's right where they break the...
I love that part where he calls Amber Heard after they've had the problems and everything. And she's like, yes, I'll take you back and everything. He goes, oh, I fucked up.
Yeah, she says she loves him or something.
Yeah.
I want to marry you.
You're like, I've done all this shit and you want to marry me now?
I am in no shape to be in a relationship.
And then she says something like, I lost my virginity when I was 12.
Is she? I don't remember. Is she at least supposed to be like 18 in that movie?
She is.
Yeah, I think she just turned
She's
18,
just in high
but I
school,
think it's
though,
implied that they were dating before that.
Yeah.
It is.
Because I don't think he's supposed to be very old either. Like, he's probably like early 20s or something. Because he
Yeah.
was only like 24 at the time.
Yeah, but he's supposed to be old enough that most general society would probably frown a little bit on that relationship.
Yes, definitely.
Especially Ed Begley Jr.
So two of the
That's
ones
her
that
dad.
Yeah.
He plays her
Not
dad.
just
I
in
wasn't
general.
just randomly
Not just in-
saying
Friend of the podcast, Ed Begley Jr. He's
Yeah.
been mentioned like 4 times.
two of the ones that always pop in that we've talked about before, From Dusk Till Dawn switches on a dime
sure.
right in the middle of it, and then we've talked about The Beach.
Oh,
That starts off as this travelogue hippie commune thing that turns into like fucking Guns of the Navarone by the
It wants
end
to
of
be
it.
6 different movies by the end.
It does. One of the things that I saw this year that Chris mentioned is The Favorite. The Favorite starts off in a very specific way. Like, it's very prim and proper. It's very, we're in the Queen's service. We're in her inner circle and everything. There's a political intrigue and things like that. And I think maybe even starting at this dance sequence, things start just becoming unusual, whether
Yes.
they're anachronistic, whether they're just weird, whether they're more violent than you think.
Very stream of consciousness.
Everything becomes different and glorious, in my opinion.
And I didn't
think
even
it's
notice
great.
until afterwards all the modern stuff they brought into it.
Yeah, so when you get to this point, things start just appealing to different parts of your sensibilities. Like, that's not supposed to be there. That's a modern touch that's not supposed to be there. And from really that moment, because otherwise they could have played it straight through and had this rivalry thing in a completely different context. But the way Yorgos Lanthimos wants to go is somewhere freaky. And the steps that he takes with Rachel Weisz's character, the steps that he takes between Olivia Colman and Emma Stone. I love this movie so much.
Yeah.
And
I
if
did
it
too.
didn't take the direction that it went, I think it would have been fine,
Yeah.
but it wouldn't have been nearly as
Wouldn't
good.
have been as memorable.
It's
And it's a great movie to reflect on because you watch it and it's like, obviously Emma Stone and Olivia Colman, they have the very standout role. They steal a lot of scenes, and even Nicholas Hoult steals a lot of scenes. But then you reflect on it and you realize the other people, like Rachel Weisz is so good in this.
Yeah,
Oh, she's terrific.
she's
I mean,
so
she-
good
she-
in general. She's been in so many movies now, and you can see the professional that's sort of like grown out of that. I mean, yeah, she was in Chain Reaction, but that's we can't hold that against her.
what are you doing? The best I can.
Yes.
This should be. I'd like to hear your opinions on this by the time that you watch this, Jeremy.
Yeah, my wife wants to see it too, so it'll be seen in the next week or so.
It'll be like because I know you took a while to watch Phantom Thread. This is a completely different movie than Phantom Thread, obviously, but I feel like you'll have a unique perspective. Did you ever see The Lobster?
No.
Yeah.
Yeah, see, I need to go back and
I
watch
think
those
you
other
might
films.
like The Lobster, as fucking weird as it is.
I might. I just, the only reason I have it is because everybody says that. It's fucking weird. I'm like, all right.
But it's
Have you seen Dogtooth or Killing of a Sacred Deer? Have you seen any
No,
of these
I
other?
haven't seen any of
I haven't
those.
seen any of those either.
I just recently bought Killing of a Sacred Deer though, so I'll see that. But
Yeah, that looks
Olivia Colman's interesting to me because I'm going to guess, and I haven't. Shamed I haven't looked up her career, but I was first introduced to her in Hot Fuzz.
Yeah.
Yes.
And she has that great line reading where she's like, why do you think it's murder? You know, and all that. And I thought she was just basically relegated to somewhat character actress that shows up every once in a while. And she shows up in Murder in the Orient Express. And then she's in this and she completely like sort of commands it. And I'm like, man, did she have like a career before this that I'm not aware of? Maybe mostly in Great Britain that I'm going to have to look up now because she's excellent.
The only thing, I mean, I haven't seen a lot of her movies, but I watched all 3 seasons of Broadchurch, which is her and David Tennant.
Somebody on Facebook said I needed to watch that. So
I
You
think
have to watch Broadchurch.
Yeah.
well, and that's her and David Tennant together as cops, and they're really good. And the first and the third season especially are very good. The problem with the second season is like the first season is a murder mystery. It's a case that lasts the whole season. You find out the resolution, which is awesome. And then the second season still sticks with that case. It deals with like the court case and stuff. So it's just not as interesting. You wish they would have just done another case. But then the third season, that's what happens. They do a different case, and it's really interesting again. I mean, I think you should still watch the second season. There's enough there, and it's not very long. Like it's a BBC show, so there's 8 or 10 episodes a season or whatever.
Each episode is 3.5 hours long.
That's true. But no, I highly recommend that. But she's awesome. God, Hot Fuzz, she's so funny.
She's got a lot of those little lines that are just sprinkled in there and everything. She's really funny. I did want to bring up when we were talking about First Night. So much like Jeremy did a couple weeks ago, I watched all the Species movies.
Now I have to do this.
Why did you do that?
Because
So we're going to the Ben Cross connection? Is that where you're going?
yes, because last night was New Year's Eve, and I spent New Year's Eve doing this Hereditary video that should be out. Yeah, it will be out when this podcast is. So I spent New Year's Eve doing that, and I'm like, what am I going to watch? So I went through all these different things. Should I watch music videos? Should I watch the New Year's Eve celebrations? And ultimately, I was like, you know what? It looks like Species is playing all night. Jeremy did this. No, I caught it in the end of Species 2, which I have seen. I've seen Species and Species 2. I have never seen the other one, so and I know that they're horrible, but But my need for skin and weird science fiction brought me to this.
She
So,
touches the owner's manual of the car to learn how the car
yes,
works.
yes. She learns chess like immediately too.
Oh,
So
Jesus.
Ben Cross is in the third and fourth one?
He's in the fourth one. So like I
Holy
watched the
shit.
third one. I watched the third one, and you have Sonny Mabry in there. I've seen in a couple of things, and then The Awakening comes on right after that, and I'm like, I've seen this motherfucker before. I don't know where I've seen him, but he's a motherfucker, and I've seen him. And so like I looked through his credits, and I was like, oh yeah, he's in fucking First Night. And so the fact that First Night came up, I was like, oh, opportunity to talk about Species.
He's the villain of First Night.
Yeah.
And I only know who knew who he was when I saw First Night because briefly when I was in high school, they tried to resurrect Dark Shadows.
I was just about to say
show.
that's where I first saw
Oh yeah,
him.
that's right.
And they made it like evening like drama,
And it
and
wasn't
he
bad.
was the star.
Okay.
I didn't. My mom wouldn't let me watch it, but she had loved the original.
I remember that coming out.
There's actually the reason that came out right as the Gulf War was revving up, and that ruined a lot of shows that year because of all the coverage.
Oh yeah.
So a lot of shows got moved around the schedule so much because they had to. So that was one of the ones that a lot of people feel was kind of. I don't know that it would have been a huge success, but that's why probably it only got like 12 episodes or
Twin
whatever.
Peaks, maybe? Or was
Maybe.
that before?
No, Twin Peaks was actually successful. It eventually became not successful
Well,
because
it
it
was-
got really weird.
Yeah, because it never got around to
Yeah.
the mystery and
Yeah, I
everything
think-
until like they
yeah.
played the movie. And
But that was around the same time. It was like 90, 91, so that was around the same time.
all right. Well,
I feel like you should invite people over for a Species marathon.
we
next to
should
Year's
have a
Eve.
Species marathon.
I'm so
Only on
pissed.
New Year's
Dude.
Eve.
I was trying to do an outtake on something recently with the something bad happened here. I couldn't
yeah.
find that anywhere.
Yeah.
I almost hollered at you, "Hey, you got the Blu-ray? Can you send me that?" real
That's
quick?"
the thing, man. You sometimes on those YouTube clips, sometimes you gotta find the scene that it's around
Oh,
to
my
find
God,
it,
yeah.
and it's so hard.
And then at some point, I'm like, I've spent 20 minutes doing this. I should probably get back to the script.
But one thing I will take away from Species 2, obviously not a very good movie at all. It's horrible, but I've never seen a movie so like directed like it's great though. Like there's so many scenes in there, like the angles and the way he shoots it and everything. It's the guy who did the Peter Medak who did Changeling.
Oh wow,
The Changeling did
which
that
is a
movie.
great movie.
A great movie.
Oh my God.
And he did Species 2, and I was like, holy shit, look at what he's doing with a camera in this fucking thing. It's shitty, but man, this is really like, and James Cromwell's in it? How the fuck is James?
This is the one with Bubba from Forrest Gump.
Michael T. Williamson.
Yeah, they go
who,
to space.
who at one point has a machete in his hand and says, I can't wait to get back to Africa on this, or some shit like that.
Who did Species? Was that Roger Donaldson? Was that like
Roger Donaldson was the first
Okay.
one, but he said something like, "Yeah, I'm going to go back to Africa at some point or whatever." And actually, I had only caught the middle of it, but I was like sitting there going, "Wait a minute." I don't remember there actually being anything to kill at the moment he says that, right? Like, there's nobody that he needs to kill. Natasha Henstridge, who's called Eve in this one and not Syl.
Because she's a clone.
Oh, she's a clone. I forgot about the cloning.
You know so much.
She's behind the glass, and they don't even know dude is an alien yet.
Right.
So, like, for him to be like, I'm going to kill all these motherfuckers. I'm going to go back to Africa. I'm like, what? Why do you do this? He did this in The Purge as well. He did a lot of these type of lines.
Isn't Species 2 essentially like the J. Jonah Jameson son story from
Yes.
Spider-Man?
Yes, it
Yeah,
is.
it really is.
Because he's a senator's son. He comes back from space with an alien and him, and then
Nuts.
clone Syl named Eve wants to fuck him, and it's basically about them trying
So
to fuck
is,
each other.
is the Natasha Henstridge character still the character in the third and fourth one? She just doesn't
No.
play it, or it's a
No.
different character?
They use like archive footage in the third one.
Yeah.
for her.
Okay.
But like in the second one is like they did a bunch of these, right? Astronaut's Wife did that.
Yes.
You know, Astronaut's Wife was, it's like, oh, he brought something back from space.
Yep. And
He's
then he
fucked
put
up
it in her.
now. Yeah, he put it in her.
Yep. He takes her uterus.
he takes her uterus, Kevin.
But I think in the Spider-Man comic, like he becomes like Man-Wolf or something. It's not even Venom because that's way later.
Yeah, it's later. I don't know who he becomes,
But then
though.
they use that in Spider-Man 3. They make him be part of the Venom storyline because it sucks. So
Yeah.
Yep.
All right. Well, that'll do it for this week.
Now that we've had our comprehensive review of the
Hey,
Species,
hey,
I am
man.
watching all four of those tonight.
Hey, man, we probably all if there's any takeaway from this episode, all of you should take in marathons of shitty science fiction horror movies.
Yes.
Because there is a fulfillment to those.
Oh yeah.
And I'm sure I'm going to get a bunch of recommends after this on Facebook. Have you watched the Cyborg movies? And I'm like, oh no.
Have you watched the Extra trilogy?
Yeah, exactly. But anyway, that'll do it for this week. Keep going to SinCast presented by. Wait a minute. SinCast presented by CinemaSins on Facebook.
Yes.
That's how that goes. I've only said it 100 fucking times. Keep going to SinCast presented by CinemaSins on Facebook, and keep going to SoundCloud, Reddit, CinemaSins Twitter. You have a Twitter, right, Jonathan?
I do, at Sam Loomis 13. And I'm usually the one on the at TVSins1 doing the comments and whatnot. So.
Yeah.
There you go.
But keep going to those and talk about this very episode, but that'll do it for this week. It's Chris Atkins and Jeremy Scott, Barrett Shearer, and Jonathan Watkins. We'll see you next time.
Thanks for listening. Comment on our episodes on our SoundCloud page. Check us out on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, and Reddit. And be sure to visit CinemaSins.com.
we're going to cut all of this anyway,
Yes.
so let's talk about something we can keep in.
Let's talk about Harry Knowles. No, I'm
We
just
may
kidding.
not. We might not get into. Have you watched Bandersnatch yet?
No, I have
haven't
never
either.
seen any Black Mirror anything.
Well, don't start with the first episode. That
Actually,
was
that's
my
true.
mistake, and I
Yeah.
didn't watch it again for like 3 years.
I didn't start with the first episode.
Oh my god!
Oh, I did.
I think you can, obviously, but
No, I did. Who gives a fuck?
No, I'm just saying I didn't like it.
No,
So
I understand.
yeah.
I understand that's not the best introduction into a show for a lot of people, and God bless you, but come on.
Oh no, I'm not being a prude.
No,
I just didn't like
I'm
it.
not accusing anybody of anything. I'm saying in general.
Is it all like nudity or what?
No.
No.
The first episode is the Prime Minister of Great Britain has to fuck a pig, or the princess gets murdered or whatever by kidnappers.
Oh, that's
So-
one of Aesop's fables, right?
So
Yeah.
it is. No,
Yeah,
so
it's a
so
moral tale.
so the princess is captured, and the kidnappers say Prime Minister must fuck a pig on live television,
Awesome.
or else this is going to happen. And it is, especially if you, let's say if you started on other Black Mirrors before you got to this one, it is a perfect Black Mirror episode.
Correct.
I see.
And yes, the subject matter is distasteful.
Mhm.
However, I don't see how you can watch that and that episode. It's not like they show insertion.
Oh no.
But if they did,
Actually, the worst shot is when he enters the room and then they just do this it's like maybe a 3 or 4 second shot of the pig just standing there.
Yeah.
It is so sad.
Yeah, it
You're
is.
just like, oh, that poor pig.
It is.
that pig's about to get fucked.
And
Yeah.
then he takes some pills.
Yeah.
You know, because I guess he has to take something to
Right.
get the hard on.
Yeah. And it's got a good aftermath to it.
Oh,
too.
the ending is the last scene is great. You
I
talking about
want
with
to
his
take
wife?
some drugs and
Yeah.
watch
Yeah.
this. Like I want to
No.
eat some shrooms and watch this shit.
Looking
Sounds
back,
outrageous.
I agree with you. It's a good episode, but just the first episode, I was just like, I don't know that this show's for me.
Mhm.
But then you watch like the
Well,
next
yeah, I
episode
mean,
is the Get Out guy.
Yeah, it's Daniel Kaluuya.
Yeah,
He's
yeah.
in the
And that's excellent.
the place where they're all exercising and getting credits.
Yeah.
and-
That one's dope.
yeah, that one's good. They went to St. Mark's Place and there was a guy with a selling a bunch of stuff on a blanket. It was on a blanket. My penis was on a blanket.
What?
Detachable penis.
Oh,
He's like when he goes to. It's like I went to St. Mark's Place and I saw it on a blanket. This guy was selling it.
Wait, who did that?
King Missile.
King
Oh,
Missile.
that's right.
I would
Yeah,
never
yeah.
have come up with that.
And he's
I hadn't
like,
thought about that in forever.
And he wanted $20, but I was able to talk him down to 15. I took it home, washed it off, and put it back.
Detachable penis.
Down.
Oh, that's a fun song.
Yes, it is.
Oh, yes.
That's like the Bandersnatch of alternative rock.
It really is.
I like how they put out that poster of the live action Aladdin. Live action Aladdin. And the internet freaked out because Will Smith wasn't blue.
Yeah.
Oh,
Is that
like-
what people were? I couldn't figure out what people were freaking out
Yes,
about.
well, first of all, I think the initial freak out was how ridiculous he looks.
He does look
Because there was
ridiculous.
plenty of that.
Yeah.
It's
Didn't-
Sinbad comparisons and whatnot.
Yeah.
Well, and it was way.
But then,
too,
like, he came on, he had to go on social media and go, relax, people. This is just the form, and this is just his human form. Most of the movie, he's gonna be blue, obviously. And I'm like, what? Fucking, he was blue because it was a cartoon, not because genies are blue. What the fuck are we? Why are we planting our flag on this hill?
I know that was like, I always said Wishmaster would be a better movie if he was blue because that's
I agree. When you get wishes from people who aren't blue,
it doesn't work.
it just doesn't work.
Doesn't take.
Yeah.
That's what we're. Anyway, the internet just continues to baffle.
Well, yeah. It's amazing I think I talked about it before, where the things that trend on Twitter don't necessarily reflect everybody. Like, it seems like it does because there's a whole bunch of, like, somebody will say something outrageous and then they'll be, oh, that attracts 15 other people who agree with it.
Mhm.
And so it looks like, oh, everybody must fucking hate this. And then you just realize, oh, it's really just 15 people.
You can tell anytime BTS does anything.
Yeah.
Like 9 of the 10 trending topics in the U.S. will be about BTS and their individual names and the song's name and the video's name. And I'm like, okay, but 95% of the country is still talking about other shit.
Mm-hmm.
You just have ganged up.
Yes.
Just like whoever the fuck Seb is, every week I see selfie for Seb go trending in the U.S. in the top 10. He's some YouTuber, Twitter, Twitchy, I don't know, somebody who asks for selfies, and I see selfie for Seb trending, and I'm like, no idea who that is.
Yeah,
it's not on my radar.
It
It cannot possibly reflect 1/10 of what America's talking about right now. Mm-hmm. I think it's all manipulated anyway.
I think it is too.
It's by the government.
By the government.
By the government.
I might watch that though.
Should we intro that again?
Do we have to?
I've got a cut. It's fine.
You've got a cut?
Yeah,
okay.
it'll be
All right.
fine.
All right.
Man, it's a shame
geez.
people have to hear that.
It's 16 years later.
See, this is one of those things when you start saying it, you're like, I'm gonna have to stay. I'm gonna have to stop. I can't stop now. Yeah.
Everybody's saying the craziest shit that you can think of right now.
I, of course, did not mean that.
But